Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at Lowe's off of Highway 75 in Plano, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps with the engagement on the channel, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds for more plant related content, and also subscribing to my YouTube channel if you like daily 1-hour plant shopping videos. So plant foldies, and for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. It is a beautiful morning and I went ahead and filmed at this Lowe's. This is a Lowe's that I don't typically get to go to just because it's a little bit further out on where I'm based at. I'm based out in North Dallas, so it's just a little bit further than where I'm used to driving. But this is a Lowe's that I like to visit because in the last few visits, they've had some really good in stocks for their plants. It is the heat of the summer, and a lot of times, or at least what I've seen at some of these big box stores, they've really had to downsize on some of their actual outdoor plants. So we're going to take a look at some of the outdoor plants, but I definitely will feature a lot of the indoor tropical plants, specifically Costa Farms, Live Trends, and Urban Jungle. You can see right here, these are another croton right here. This one is one that we see often at Lowe's. This one is sourced out by Costa Farms, and I will tell you, Costa Farms has done quite a bit of restocks as of late when it comes to some of their trending tropicals and just some of their plant in stocks for just big box stores. But you can see these are all croton petras. I love the colorful leaves of croton petras, and what I've noticed is late summer and fall, you'll see tons of crotons. I just think that it's more in season just because people will grow this as more of an annual plant for their patios because it does have that fall color vibe. Now in the wild, you know, croton plants thrive in high humidity, full sun, and so that's one of those things where if you're going to grow a croton plant indoors, they're a little bit more finicky because they do require quite a bit of bright indirect light, or if you're able to grow them outside in full sun, that's what they would even do better at. And you can see they've got some hanging baskets here. We've got a puncia or some type of cactus right over here, and then I'm just going to walk over here and show you some of these really cool looking Mexican bird of paradise. I like the leaf shape, but also look at how beautiful the blooms are over here. So now, plant foldies, we're going to walk into the outdoor section. I'm not going to spend nearly as much time in the outdoor section, but I did want to pan over here and show you how full the outdoor section is at this particular Lowe's. You can see there are quite a bit of chrysanthemums or mums. So that's another thing we will be seeing at big box stores, is if you like chrysanthemums, or also known as mums, it is about that time of the year where we're going to see more of that. They actually show up more so in the fall, but you can see they've got an early start here, and that's not a bad price at all. What I would recommend though, if you're going to buy chrysanthemums, is you want to buy them when they're not fully bloomed yet, just because your blooms will last a little bit longer. The cool thing about mums is that you can actually grow them in a landscape, and depending on your grow zone, they can be a perennial, which means that this plant will actually grow through a grow season, and you know, will come back into spring or late fall, just whatever their actual growth habit is. But you can see how beautiful these blooms are. Now in other places like Japan, for instance, chrysanthemums are highly celebrated. They actually have them hybridized, is what I'm trying to say, and they have like blooms that are as big and wide as like 3 feet in width. So that's really cool. They are also known as kiku in Japan, but over here we grow them as either a little landscape flower bed plant or a patio plant as well. Now over here we've got a bunch of coleus, so it looks like they've got a restock of coleus plants. You already know I've had a full-blown coleus obsession. What I like about coleus plants is that they have so many different colors and varieties of coleus plants. They're easy to grow, they're fast growing, they're super easy to propagate. Some coleus will need to be in shade, some can take full sun. The ones that can take full sun are known as sun coleus. And then we're just going to walk around here and see what other plants that they have available. It looks like they've been getting a lot of olive trees as well at these big box stores. I've never really grown an olive tree, but I would assume that since it is a flowering plant that bears fruit, it would need to be out in full sun. We also have a bunch of citrus plants. So you can see this is a lime plant. I am really disappointed that my variegated pink lemon tree ended up dying. I've had it for about 4 years. It just didn't do well this year. I think it was the heat that really took it out. And then you can see here, we've got some tropical hibiscus as well. Now, the thing about tropical hibiscus, obviously they need to be in a tropical climate with higher humidity. These hibiscus are most likely grown to be an annual unless you grow it in a container. So if you grow it in a container, you can actually take this hibiscus and overwinterize it, which means you can take it indoors, grow it under a grow light, for it to just survive, because definitely this is not a plant you can plant in your landscape unless it's one that's in a specific grow zone. For my grow zone, which is 8B, it will definitely die in the winter because we get snow or really hard freezes. Same thing with this cordyline Hawaiian tea plant. I love the size of this, and you can see that it's actually a pretty mature one. Notice how the stems end up getting a little bit more woody. This one is for $19.88, and that's a really good price. Plant folies for cordyline Hawaiian tea plants. Some people will attempt to grow those indoors. I wouldn't try to grow them indoors because for some reason they just tend to get spider mites when they're indoors. Now, when they're outdoors, you can even grow them in full sun. They are gorgeous. My family's from the Philippines, and I mentioned this in pretty much all my videos, but I recently went on vacation to the Philippines about a month ago, and I was able to see cordyline Hawaiian tea plants just growing out in the wild. They were thriving, and it just really reminded me that plant care actually exists, because the plant care is really how close can we mimic the natural environment of that specific plant. For instance, this is a papaya tree. Clearly, papaya trees are more for tropical climates. So if you were to grow a papaya tree, number one, you need to give it full sun. And then number two, they like higher humidity. This is not a plant or a tree that you can grow in the landscape, at least in North Dallas, which is where I'm based at. It would be more of an annual tree that would bear fruit and then would eventually die when the temperatures get a little bit cold. But as you can see right here, plant folies, Lowe's has actually maintained quite a bit of plant availability. I like that. And that's the reason why when it comes to big box stores, I do love shopping at Lowe's. Lowe's has quite a bit of Costa Farms trending tropical plants and just Costa Farms plants in general. And I did want to pan over and show you the Miracle-Gro fertilizer, that all-purpose fertilizer. I literally use it for all of my plants. I like to fertilize my plants a little bit more frequently, especially during the grow season. Now over here, we've got some foxtail ferns. I like the look of foxtail ferns. I do think that they're more of like a plant that you would need to grow more so as a container garden. They tend to do better in containers outdoors versus indoors. They do like bright indirect light. And then right next to it is a Fatsa japonica, or what you would call a Japanese Aralia. I love the look of a Japanese Aralia. It looks like an oversized like Hydra helix, or what you call a Hedera helix, which is an English ivy. For those that don't know, I mispronounce Hedera helix English ivy as Hydra helix because there is a long, it's like a plant foldy inside joke. You'll have to watch some of my previous videos, but that's just the story behind that. And then plant foldies, as you can see right here, Lowe's has quite a bit of fern in this little table here. We've got another foxtail fern. You can see that the new growth is really cute. Actually comes out more of a bright green tone. They definitely need to be more in a shaded area. You do not want to put these ferns in full sun. I can't really think of a lot of ferns that would like to be in full sun, especially a foxtail fern. Now, we're going to go walk inside to the indoor tropical plant section. You can see that there's always going to be an end cap with like live trends and urban jungle plants. We're going to take a look at that in just a little bit, but I want to walk through and show you how full this Lowe's location is. It is exciting to see that a lot of these big box stores, specifically Lowe's, is getting restocked by Costa Farms. So I am on the lookout for a certain amount of plants by Costa Farms, some trending tropical plants. Things I've been seeing in the market as of late is more aglaonemas. I like that because aglaonemas are one of my favorite plants, and they just have a bunch of other plants that are coming around. But you can see here, this is a nice paradise of plants. Costa Farms has a lot of these blooming anthuriums here. These are all for $13.98. We've got a Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree. Love the look of that as well. And plant foliage, you can see that these blooming anthuriums, the blooms have actually been a little bit sun stressed and bleached out because I think they've just received a little bit too much light. This is one of my favorite plants to grow. It's an easy to care for plant. Not only does it give you some colorful blooms, but I really like the look of the the leaves. It's got a nice shine to it. It's just nice and green, very rich color. And that's the thing, plant foldies, you know, we'll gravitate to some variegation, but a nice green leaf is a plus for me as well. And then over here, Scindapsus trubii moonlight. I feel like these plants were super rare about 4 or 5 years ago, and now they are everywhere. They've been easily multiplied. Now, the thing about Scindapsus trubii moonlight is for it to have that silvery shine, you need to provide it with quite a bit of light. It's also a slow growing plant. Now, over here, we've got another type of Dracaena. Look at how massive that plant is. The size is a really nice size for a Dracaena. And again, Dracaenas can tolerate lower light conditions. So that is a plant that I feel like is always going to be an underrated plant. I don't think people are running out to go collect Dracaenas. Same thing with Cordyline Hawaiian tea plant. And you notice that they have large forms of that here. It is marketed as an indoor plant, but I honestly would not recommend growing a cordyline tea plant indoors. We also have some yuccas right over here, as well as bird of paradise. Now, all of these plants, again, are sourced out by Costa Farms. And you can see here, we've got this a yucca plant for $22.98. Now with yucca plants, same thing with Majesty palms and bird of paradise. They need quite a bit of light for them to really thrive. Honestly, growing a bird of paradise, you have to have really good lighting conditions if they're going to grow indoors, as well as space, because they can grow fairly large. I don't think you can get a bird of paradise to bloom indoors because it does require quite a bit of light. And then you can see right over here, that's not a bad price at all, $59.98 for a pretty large size Majesty palm. Again, I don't really like growing Majesty palms or palms in general. I don't have any in my collection. If I were to add a palm to my collection, I would probably add a Rhaphis palm or a fan palm. And then over here, we've got some more palms and yucca. Some of these are not as healthy looking as others. And that's the thing, again, plant foldies. Whenever you go to a big box store, your expectations should be high, but also have some expectations that they may not always be the most healthiest plants. I mean, you can see right here, this is the clearance rack where all of these plants are 50% off. This is also known as the Rescue Me section. I talked about clearance plants on whether it's worth buying. I would say for some it is, but you can even see right here, say you want to get a Phalaenopsis orchid. So instead of paying $20.48 while it's in bloom, you can purchase one for half off. And while it's not in bloom, as long as you give it the right care condition, it will rebloom. So there are some pros and cons to clearance plants. I feel like clearance plants, you have to be invested in actually rehabilitating the plant, because for the most part, plants that end up in the clearance section are plants that have really declined in health. And what happens is when a plant declines in health, it's more susceptible to pests because it is not in a healthy state, which means you can potentially bring a clearance plant home with some pests, and that is a risk as well. So you just have to really know that you're going to have to spray it down with some pest control, probably quarantine it, make sure that you're taking care of it. You may even have to repot it. There's just a lot of steps behind just taking a clearance plant home besides just watering it. I did want to show you some more plants, however, and I did show you that there was an orchid bark mix. I utilized that to make my soil a little bit more chunky. That's the specific brand I use. And then you can see over here, plant foldies, we've got a beautiful looking Ficus lyrata. That one is for $35.98. That's actually not a bad price at all for a Ficus lyrata. And you know, Ficus lyrata are fiddle fig leaf trees. In the wild, they can grow up to 30 feet tall in full sun. If you're going to grow them indoors, they need to be in an area where there's quite a bit of bright light, and you want to keep it in an area where you're not moving the ficus around. It does not like to be moved around. Actually, if you move it from one place to another, the potential of it dropping leaves is highly likely. It does like to be more consistent in its care. So whether it's watering it every week, making sure the lighting conditions don't change, that's how fiddle fig leaves work. Now, as far as bromeliads, are actually pretty easy to take care of. Now, bromeliads do need to have a little bit more bright indirect light as well. In general, all of the plants that we see in terms of a tropical plant or a plant that is grown as a house plant will always do best in bright indirect light at minimum. And if you actually can give it even more than that, it might even do better. Plants that can tolerate lower light conditions, the key word is it can tolerate it. So it won't necessarily grow as quickly. It may not give you the best variegation or coloration, but it can definitely survive. Whenever I grow plants that are a little bit more low light tolerant. I will sometimes take the plant at least once or twice a week and put it in an area where it can get a lot of light. That way it can still photosynthesize and get some, a boost in its lighting. But as you can see here, plant folies, beautiful looking bromeliads. I love bromeliads. I used to not be so into them until I started to really pay attention to the nuances and the coloration of bromeliads. I find them endearing. I find them exciting. I mean, look at this right here. I love that it's got some red on it, and you can notice that this Lowe's has just recently watered them. The thing about bromeliads is if you water them from the top, it'll hold water. I would actually dump the water from the middle of the bromelia because you don't want it to be a place where it harbors potential pests like fungus gnats. Like fungus gnats need a water source to lay their eggs, and that would potentially be a little area that they could lay their eggs and create some more pests. So as far as bromeliads though, they're so easy, and there's so many different varieties. The uncommon ones are super cool as well. And over here, what I like about this Costa Farms Exotic Angel hanging basket is the actual size. This one is actually labeled correctly. It is an Epipremnum aureum pearls and jade pothos. You can see pearls and jade is very similar to enjoy, but you'll notice that pearls and jade, the green is a little bit more of a pastel green, and there's a lot of speckling behind it. The enjoy pothos has smaller leaves, and you can see a really darker green contrast with the white variegation. I do like the pearls and jade pothos. Look at how beautiful that speckling is, and it is only for $16.98. I do prefer the 6.5 inch hanging basket planters versus the 8.5 inch hanging baskets by Costa Farms, because I feel like there's a little bit more room for me to be able to grow a hanging basket. Like over here, plant folies, we've got an Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen pothos, and it does show that it is low light tolerant. Now for Marble Queen, especially this plant folies, I cannot stress to you enough that if you want to maintain that beautiful white cream variegation, you have to give it a lot of bright indirect light. Places I would place this particular plant would be a south facing window, a west facing window, or at minimum an east facing window. I would not put it in a lower light condition unless you want that whole plant to turn green again. And then that one is a prayer plant or a marantha. That one's got some like crisping on the leaves. It's probably just underwatered. And then over here again, plant folies for $16.98. This is an Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen pothos. I really like the look of this plant as well. And pothos plants in general are plants I would recommend for anybody that grows plants, especially for a beginner houseplant lover. You want to go ahead and get yourself a pothos plant, whether it's a Marble Queen pothos, a neon pothos, a golden pothos, some type of pothos plant. I'm telling you, it is an easy to care for plant, and it grows pretty fast. Some varieties are a little bit faster than others, and you can take so many cuttings and propagate them straight into water. And then over there, you can see that is another bromeliad that we have over here. That whole end cap is quite a bit of bromeliad, so I've noticed that Costa Farms has really pushed out quite a bit of bromeliads. And if you ask me, in terms of Costa Farms, it is probably the largest plant nursery that sources out a lot of house plants, and I'm so thankful for that. I also wanted to thank Costa Farms for featuring some of my Instagram reels on their official Instagram page, Costa Farms page. Super exciting, and they even posted some of my shorts videos on their official YouTube channel. I'm hoping I will be able to meet some people from Costa Farms when I go to PlantCon, which is literally only 11 days from now, and I'm super excited. It's going to be in Dallas, Texas during Labor Day weekend. And then you can see right here, plant folies. I just lifted this up. This is for $16.98. Philodendron hederaceum Brazil, easy to care for plant. It's similar to a pothos plant. It's not as fast growing as a pothos plant, but it's still such a beautiful plant. I like the heart-shaped leaves that it has, and it's an easy to care for plant. Now, to get the maximum beauty of it, the Philodendron hederaceum, you want to grow that on a totem pole, a moss pole, a plank. The leaves will get extremely large. And then over here, there's some dead leaves here. That's nothing to worry about. You can just kind of cut those off. This is a Syngonium white butterfly from Costa Farms, another Costa Farms hanging basket in a 6.5 inch planter. I like the look of it. This is only for $16.98. To get that really nice cream variegation though, you want to provide syngoniums bright indirect light. Less lighting makes them a little bit more leggy, and you do not want to let a syngonium dry out too much for too long. If they get too many, if they're underwatered a little too long, they will decline in health very quickly. I only say that because I speak from experience. You know, syngoniums are one of my favorite plants. It used to be my favorite plant to grow, but I ended up neglecting them. They're still an easy to care for plant. I would still consider them a beginner plant, but that is a plant you don't want to like skim by on just a watering. Speaking of watering, so now we're going to be looking at succulents and cactus, and these are plants that definitely don't need to be watered. Basic care tips for succulents or cactus, especially if you're going to be growing them, is you want to make sure that they are in fast draining soil, and for you to water them, you want to make sure that you're watering them when the soil is completely dry. I would recommend bottom watering the succulents, so instead of like getting their foliage or leaves wet, you want to try to bottom water them by taking a saucer and actually placing the entire planter in there. It'll just absorb from the bottom of the drainage holes. And the reason why you don't really want to get a lot of the actual succulents or cactus foliage wet is because some of that water may end up just sitting there, which eventually could potentially rot the succulent plant. So I've seen that before. But as you can see, look at how interesting cactus can be. I just love the look of these fuzzy cactus right over here. You can see this one looks just really delicate. This one is not a bad price for the actual cactus as well. Now, with cactus and succulents, another rule of thumb is that you want to make sure you are providing it with quite a bit of bright light. Some of them might take full sun. Not all succulents and cactus need to be in full sun. However, I made the mistake of taking a couple of succulents, for instance, and putting them out in full Texas summer heat sun, and it just was not a good it was not a good fit for them. They eventually just kind of roasted. So you want to make sure that you're looking at those levels and just being careful with the actual amount of light in terms of just the full sun that you provided. But you can see right here, this agave is for $26.98. This is an artichoke agave. Really nice looking plant. It does have those very prickly needles at the very tips of the leaves, so you just have to be super careful with it. Again, plant foldies, I'm still learning when it comes to succulents and cactus, but I'm hoping that I can get a hold of some really cool variegated cactus, the ones with a lot of pinks and reds. We'll see what that looks like when I go to PlantCon. And then you can see right here, Live Trends has this little terrarium set up for $19.98. We've got a Sansevieria or a snake plant bird's nest right here. Now with snake plants, they definitely don't need to be watered frequently as well. Actually, the fastest way to kill a snake plant is if you overwater it. Their leaves may end up just rotting, or even the roots. So you just have to be really careful for that. And then you can see right here, we've got some colorful grafted cactus. So you can see that the colorful part is actually being grafted onto a cactus. These are actually commonly seen as well at big box stores. I've never really had any of these, and I really don't know what the potential size or the growth it'll grow to, or if that's basically the size it will grow to. And then you can see right there on the very left are a bunch of the cosmic cactus. We'll get to that, but you can see how bright red that cactus is. That's a super cool looking cactus. I might do a little bit more research to see, but if you do know about grafted cactus plant foldies, please leave that in the comments. Again, if you have any insight stories you want to tell about certain plants, plant care tips, anything plant related, or if you have a question for me, please leave that in the comments section. I love reading comments, and I literally will respond to every single one of you guys. And then over here, you can see that these are cactus that were spray painted or painted. Definitely not a fan for it, and honestly, having that paint layer actually doesn't help the plant at all, or at least I feel like it does more damage to the plant because it doesn't have an ability to really photosynthesize or get light to it. But you can see here they've still got some more grafted cactus here. I do like how bright the orange, yellow, and red cactus it has. It doesn't look real, but it's definitely a living plant right there. And again, plant foldies, I have tried to feature more cactus and succulents because per request by some of our plant foldies, they wanted to see more of that. So that is basically my cactus, the cactus that I'll show today on this plant haul. And then I also wanted to show you some more plant products. So this is specifically the sphagnum moss I use by Better Grow. I use the sphagnum moss for some of my propagations, although I typically don't like to propagate plants in sphagnum moss. I usually use just straight water or just water propagations. And you can see here, plant foldies, I went ahead and panned into the Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf trees. Now those are all in self-watering planters by Costa Farms, again for $15.98. I really like that Costa Farms has a bunch of plants that are ready to go in self-watering planters. This one isn't a 6-inch planter, and for $15.98, that's not a bad price at all. Ficus lyrata, again, these plants definitely need quite a bit of light. You want to make sure you stay on top of the watering. You want to make sure that they stay in a consistent space. So if you're going to find like a good space would be like a western facing window, a south facing window, make sure you put that there and make sure you do not move the plant. It does not like to be moved around. And you can see that end cap has a full abundance of just different types of hanging baskets by Live Trends and Urban Jungle. We'll get back to that, but plant foldies, I do like admiring the fiddle fig leaf leaves. It is a plant that most people will say is a finicky plant, but I tell you what, if you ever go to a tropical country like the Philippines, those things don't even need us to water them. The environment and climate alone will take care of them. And you can see right here, this is another Urban Jungle plant. This is another Ficus lyrata, but the price difference is this is $22.98 versus the Costa Farms one for $15.98. Now, obviously, Urban Jungle has a really nice terracotta planter, but let's take a look at this. This one is for $15.98 as well. So Costa Farms, in terms of just the pricing, kind of wins over Urban Jungle. Like, I am a fan of Urban Jungle plants. I feel like there are some plants that they have really good plant pricing, but at least for the Ficus lyrata, I'd rather spend $15.98 versus the $22.98 that Urban Jungle is charging at the moment. And then you can see here, this is an Urban Jungle planter, ceramic planter, only $13.98. And you can see that this golden pothos is sun stressed, because you can see that there's a little bit more yellow tone to the leaves. There's nothing wrong with it. It just has been bleached out by the amount of light it's received. It is trailing, so you can actually take several pothos cuttings and propagate it. So that's the thing I like about plants. Certain plants I gravitate to because of the propagation potential. I like multiplying my plants. I feel like that is a way to really grow a plant collection, to share it with others without having to spend a lot of money. And that's really a lot of what some of my more uncommon or rare plants, that's how I've acquired them, is through plant cuttings or friends giving us some propagations that are for free. And plant foldies, you can see right here, easy to care for plant. This is the Raven ZZ by Costa Farms, trending tropicals for $20.98. Beautiful plant, and notice how it's got that dark foliage it has, and then the new growth comes out that really bright green, and then it hardens and becomes that dark foliage. Such an elegant looking plant. I love dark foliage plants, and it being a trending tropicals plant, it's awesome because they're readily available. Sometimes you can find this actually on clearance. I ended up buying these Raven Z's is actually on clearance for $5, so it just really depends on if you get lucky to find it. Now, Raven ZZ, it's easy to propagate through water propagation. I would say definitely do not overwater that plant. You can even literally water it once a month and it will do fine. Same thing with just a regular ZZ plant. These plants are legitimately plants that can actually take lower light conditions and still grow well. And that's the reason why I would say, aside from Pothos plants, I would say ZZ plants are probably the easiest house plant to grow as an indoor house plant. It's one that is a little bit slower growing, although I will say if you want to promote faster growth, especially on just the common green ZZ plant, providing it with bright indirect light is definitely going to encourage that. More light for any plant is just really good for it in general. You get the best variegation, you get the best coloration, and you definitely get better growth potential for it. So if you want to ever increase the plant's growth habit or just growth rate, I would say definitely give it bright indirect light. Don't give it full sun, but bright indirect light will definitely increase that for a lot of these indoor tropical plants. Now over here, plant foldies, we've got a Dracaena Janet Craig compacta, $15.98. And I say this in all my videos, but Everybody needs to at least give this plant attention. It is such an easy plant to take care of. It's so underrated, and it's one that I feel like will bring a lot of people joy in the fact that you're probably not going to end up killing it. You can literally not water it nearly as much. Give it low light conditions and it'll still do well. Now, this is an example, plant folies, of an Epipremnum pinnatum Baltic blue, but notice how it's trailing. So you can tell that this plant, it's a Costa Farms trending tropicals plant for $20.98, has been at this big box store for quite a while because it's literally got about a 3 feet trailing, it's just trailing for about 3 feet. So it's actually pushed out quite a bit of growth. So I think if you wanted to buy this and chop it up and get lots of propagations, you're actually getting a pretty good deal. Now, with Epipremnum pinnatum, which is actually endemic to my home country, which is the Philippines, these are actually considered weeds in the Philippines because they basically grow everywhere. This plant is a fast-growing plant. Now, with the Baltic blue Epipremnum pinnatum, it doesn't necessarily need a pole to start fenestrating, although if you notice, the lower leaves just trailing down, they get smaller and smaller. So with Epipremnum pinnatum, you definitely have to give it a pole, a stake, some type of support for it to grow up, because that's really the natural habitat or the natural growth pattern it has in the wild. I know in the Philippines, they like to attach themselves on coconut trees, palm trees, or any type of tree, and they can grow up to like 30, 40, 60 feet tall, and their actual leaves can get as large as like 4 to 5 feet in width. So it's really massive. If you haven't seen my Philippine plant videos, there is a plant list called Plant Tourism, where you can go there and check out my Philippines videos. You will see a lot of these plants, even this Pachira aquatica, for instance, in the native habitats of the Philippines, where they are just massive, full-blown trees. Now, the thing about Pachira aquatica, or what they call the money tree plant, some people believe that that plant will bring luck. I will say that that plant is an easy care for plant as well. It does need a little bit more bright light. If you can give it that, it'll actually thrive. And you can see right here, it's another Epipremnum pinnatum Baltic blue. This one isn't trailing nearly as much as the first one, but as you can see, it's a nice looking plant. Now, to get it more of that bluish tone to it, kind of like the Epipremnum pinnatum Cebu blue, you want to give it more light. It'll give it a better coloration. And then you can see this is a beautiful Epipremnum aureum golden pothos. This is the OG. This is like the original plant that I would say the majority of you guys probably ended up acquiring as your first houseplant. It was one of my first houseplants actually, and this one is for $20.98. This is another Costa Farms hanging basket in an 8-inch planter. Notice how highly variegated this is. This is actually a good specimen on what you would call a golden pothos. Some of these other pothos that are called golden pothos are not nearly as variegated, but this one is. Now, in order for it to maintain that variegation, you definitely want to give it quite a bit of bright light. In the wild, pothos plants can actually grow in full sun and still tolerate it without being burned. But you can see that that is a very lush and healthy plant. It looks like it's been at this Lowe's for a while. And then you can see right here, this is a ficus bellus, or a variegated creeping ficus. I like that as well. And anytime you hear the word ficus, you want to understand, or at least know, that you're going to need bright light. Ficus plants are plants that are, light seeking. They need light in order for them to really thrive. You don't want to put this in a shaded environment or a place that doesn't get nearly as much light. It's not going to thrive. It's actually going to decline in health fairly quickly. And I speak on experience because I've tried to grow ficus in lower light conditions. They do not like that. So when it comes to like the positioning of a plant, if you are able to give it a south facing window where like you get a lot of light from the south, or a western facing window, that's what I would suggest, so you can get that light. Or if you don't have that type of light, you can also grow them under grow lights. I have to use grow lights to supplement some of my indoor space, just so I can make sure that my plants are able to photosynthesize and really be happy. But as you can see, plant foldies, this Lowe's, I wouldn't say it necessarily has the biggest restock. I would say at least this Lowe's has quite a bit of plants to pick from in terms of the same plants. I mean, you can see right here. You can never run out of Scindapsus trubii Moonlight. And then again, I'm just looking for these Scindapsus to go on sale. The trubii Moonlight specifically, but there's so many other varieties of Scindapsus. It's quite interesting that there's a lot of variegated ones. Like there's like a Scindapsus Blue Albo where literally it was like a 2-leaf cutting and it was being sold for $150. So again, you pay a premium when it comes to variegation, but you know, Scindapsus trubii Moonlight was also a very expensive plant many years ago. So again, plant foldies, as PlantCon comes around, especially those that are going to the PlantCon 2024 convention, you'll see a lot of variegated plants. You'll see a lot of uncommon rare plants. Just know that it's okay not to purchase one for like $400 or $500. I can guarantee you, this always happens, guarantee you that that plant will reduce in its price within a year or two. It has happened. I've even seen like variegated alocasias that were selling for $500 earlier this year when I went to PlantCon in Houston, and now you can find them in the $150 range. So a little bit of patience goes a long way, especially when you're plant collecting. Now, as far as these plants, these are super cute, and I will say Live Trends has the best, most stylish planters. They really utilize Haworthias for some reason. A Live Trends plant that is always common is a Haworthias as well as air plants. Like look at this super cute little animal planter here. I like the orange one, that's super cute, and you can see that there is an air plant right there. That one is for $8.98. So you know, these are plants that are meant, and you know, a lot of these Live Trend plants are meant to be like something for the desktop or like a shelf or something. It's literally designed for just really plant styling, and I love that a lot. I want to collect more Live Trends planters. I don't mind it because they usually fit my plant styling aesthetic. I really like unique looking pieces that are very simplistic, modern, contemporary, and even just quirky like this. Like I think that's super cute. You know, if you look at my personal plant collection, a lot of my planters are either brown, gray, cream, or white pots that have no texture. I tend to like things that are matte finishes versus shiny glazes. I just like that. And like, for instance, this Casa Farms one, I love the plant. You know, don't get me wrong, Casa Farms has awesome plants and planters, but the yellow with the texture, I would have been okay with just no texture at all. I like simplicity because simplicity in the planters actually, in my opinion, enhances the actual plant. It's not as distracting as you know, a very busy planter. One of my favorite plants, and this is a heteroecium, philodendron heteroecium, just a green version. Some people will call this a cordatum, the philodendron cordatum, but this is a heteroecium, or the heart-shaped leaf philodendron. Really like this as well. This one is for $20.98. It's similar to a pothos plant, although its growth habit or the growth rate is a little bit slower than a pothos plant. And you can see here we've got some ficus ginseng bonsai, and then we have some Monstera deliciosas by Urban Jungle here. Now this is the new planters that Urban Jungle has, which I actually like. I like the natural terracotta look about it. This one is for $22.98. What a beautiful juvenile Monstera deliciosa. Oh, how I wish like Monstera deliciosas don't fenestrate. It would be cool to have a plant that has large heart-shaped leaves like that. Another favorite plant of mine, and I show this in every single video. I think there's, of all the videos that I've done daily for the last 9 months, I mean, there's not a video that I did not show a neon pothos. I believe I've always shown you guys an Epipremnum aureum neon pothos. Absolutely love neon plants. Like, speaking of neon plants, look at this philodendron moonlight. Love this plant as well, and I'm hoping that I can go to Green Acres in Melissa, Texas. That's another local plant nursery, to buy the one that was extremely large for only $50. So the thing about this plant is I just love that neon yellow color. Neon plants, again, you have to I'm telling you, plantfuls, you have to give it light for it to really get that coloration. Now, this is that Alpina plant that, you know, fascinates me, but actually in turn, you know, some people say that it's an easy to care for plant. For me, it didn't do well. I thought it was drought tolerant. It was not. And as much as I like the purple undersides of the leaves and also that bluish gray green tone it has on the top part, it's just not a plant that I'm going to put in my collection anytime soon. Now, surprisingly, I don't have Haworthias, but you know, Live Trends tends to just show a lot of Haworthia, so it might be a plant I might eventually grab to put in my collection, just because it is for a succulent, and I'm surprised. I still don't believe it, but it says, you know, I've done research where people say that these Haworthias don't need nearly as much light as a typical succulent, which I find that very interesting. It's super intriguing, and I don't know. Now, as far as the Live Trends planters, like that bold orange is so stylish, as well as that that blue. And you can see right here, we've got a self-watering planter. Right here, another self-watering planter by Live Trends. Now this one is a Sansevieria bird's nest snake plant. I like that as well. And then you can see right here, we've got some Sansevieria fernwood by Live Trends as well. You can see that it's got that that metallic gray look about it. I do like that. That's another color I like on plants. Now, although I wouldn't put a Sansevieria fernwood with that, I would have found a plant that was like more of a neon color for it to pop. Now look at this right here. I don't mind the texture, but honestly, I would have preferred the texture to not be there. It is a stylish looking planter. And plant foldies, I'm just curious, as you guys have shopped at big box stores, or if you do shop at big box stores, which plant provider do you like? Do you like Costa Farms plants? Do you like Live Trends plants or Urban Jungle plants? Please leave that in the comments. I'm just curious because I actually buy from all three. Now over here is an Urban Jungle plant. This one is a Syngonium of some sort, maybe a Syngonium neon robusta. If you notice Syngoniums that have leaves that haven't unfurled, it's because it didn't receive nearly as much humidity. So if you ever have leaves that are like stuck from unfurling, it's because there wasn't enough humidity. I would say put a humidifier near it and it'll help unfurl the leaves a little bit easier. And then over there we have another Dracaena Janicrea compacta, and then we've got another Calathea macuyana. If you notice how this one doesn't have nearly as much like pattern or variegation, it's because it didn't get nearly as much light. So you want to make sure you're providing light. And then another Urban Jungle for $13.98. This is a Dracaena Tornado. Love the Dracaena Tornado. Look at that color, but also just look at how it's got that curling leaves around it. It looks like a tornado. And then this is a very, very juvenile, what is it? Ponytail palm. It doesn't have a really thick caudex or trunk yet, but that is also for $13.98. So Urban Jungle, in terms of those planters, they have quite a bit of plants to pick from. And you can see right here another Live Trends planter. They're utilizing an air plant there. So as far as air plants, I don't have a single air plant in my plant collection. It's another plant that I would eventually add, but it would definitely be for stylistic purposes. And you can see right here another self-watering planter by Live Trends. Now this one is the more compact ZZ plant. This is the ZZ Zenzi plant. I would like to get a hold of that, and it'd be interesting to actually find a variegated ZZ plant. I did hear though a variegated ZZ plant doesn't have very stable variegation, and that's the thing, plant foldies. Variegation, for the most part, there are some plants that can hold variegation, like a Monstera Thai Constellation is never going to revert on you, but you do run the risk of certain plants being more susceptible to just reverting. And check out this Haworthia. I've never seen a Haworthia in bloom. That's super cute. So you can see that Haworthia is mature. It is happy with its growing conditions to the point where it has pushed out a bloom, and that's super cool. I like that a lot, plant foldies. And again, that's the thing about going big box or plant shopping. It always brings me joy to be able to see certain plants growing at a big box store. There are some plants that I've seen multiple times where I've like filmed it last week and then I come back and see it the next week and see that the plant has pushed out a lot of growth. Part of me hopes that those plants that are thriving at a big box store will eventually find a home. And these are my favorites. So I really love Live Trends hanging basket planters, as well as Urban Jungle. The smaller 4.5 or 5 inch planter, ceramic planters, are really cool. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of Epiprimnum aureum or Pothos plants. Like this one right here is just a jade Pothos. This one is by Urban Jungle, and this one would be for $14.98. I would love to have multiple hanging baskets like this. I need to figure out my plant styling, but I would really love to be able to do that. I'm thinking if I could grow a bunch, next to my west facing window in my master bedroom. That would be so cool, because pothos plants in general are just really easy to care for plants. Like this one right here is another live transplanter. Now this one is an Epipremnum aureum lemon meringue pothos. Love the look. That color is really nice as well. Now with the lemon meringue pothos, you definitely have to give it a lot of light as well. The global green pothos and the lemon meringue pothos, if you don't provide it with quite a bit of light, it is going to be more so green. You're not going to see the yellowish variegation on the green for this pothos unless you give it a lot of light. And you can see that there is some cream coming out as well, so that might just be an enjoy in there as well. And then you can see we have a golden pothos right over here. That is probably the OG pothos, probably the most common pothos. This is Urban Jungle, again for $13.98. I really like that a lot, although I was able to get these ceramic planters at a grocery store called Sprouts for only $5. So you want to do a lot of your plant shopping, canvas some of the plant pricing, and just really check when these plants go on sale. For the most part, grocery stores will liquidate their plants to where they will actually reduce the plants substantially, the plant pricing. So I tend to go to like places like Kroger grocery store, Sprouts grocery, and a Texas grocery store called HEB. That's where I found the best deals for plants. Now, as far as all of these pothos plants though, if you want to buy a hanging basket like that, I think it's really cool. Although for the Urban Jungle ones, I prefer the Live Trends ones because they tend to be a little bit more simplistic. Like this one right here, stunning looking Enjoy pothos with maybe a little bit of pearls and jade as well. You can see that there is a combination. The pearls and jade pothos would be the leaves that have more of the speckling. The Enjoy pothos are the ones that just have green and white variegation. So really very, very similar pothos. It is got the smallest leaves when you compare it to all of the pothos plants, and it is the slowest growing out of all the pothos plants as well, is the Enjoy pothos. So that's one plant that you have to really just be a patient with. You know, surprisingly, the Manjula pothos is also a slow growing pothos, even though the leaves are definitely more unique as compared to a lot of the standard pothos plants. Now over here is a Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. It almost looks like a regular green version, but the thing about it is you have to give Philodendron Brazil, Hederaceum Brazil, more light to see more of that variegation. This is an example again of a plant that requires more light in order for it to really get the good the coloration variegation. If you don't provide it with nearly as much light, it's not going to have that yellow those yellow streaks. And then over here is a Live Trends planter, and this one is a hanging basket. Look at how cool that is, and look at how beautiful that pothos plant is. People will say a pothos plant is a basic plant. Basic is good, and this is a reason why plant foldies, I say basic is good when it comes to plants. You don't want a plant that requires so much care to the point where it stresses you out. You want to be to the point where you can, step away from the plant, actually enjoy it, and not have to worry so much about its lighting conditions, watering condition, fertilizing it, soil type. The more basic the plant is, the easier it's going to be in terms of care, and the more joy I feel like it's going to give you. Like that ZZ plant that I showed you, I feel like that's a winner for anybody. ZZ plants are basic plants, but they're plants that are easy to take care of. This, unfortunately, is not a plant that's easy to take care of. This is a Croton Gold Dust. I love crotons, and I love the fact that Costa Farms has these readily available. These are the Exotic Angel line. So these are the 3.5, 4-inch starter planters that they always have available. These are all for $5.98. Like this one right here is a beautiful Photonia. I know better to bring a Photonia into my collection because I know that I am what you call an underwaterer, somebody who doesn't nearly water my plants as much as I need to be. I've been so much better though in the last 3 weeks, so I have to give myself that credit. But that Photonia needs quite a bit of water for it to really thrive. Now this one's a Philodendron Hederaceum, just the green version, $5.98. And again, with these Exotic Angel plants, they're quite easy to take care of. If you want to start a plant collection and you're on a budget, I would recommend getting the Exotic Angel line from Costa Farms because you can get a multitude of different types of starter planters. There are even smaller varieties. I mean, Costa Farms has actually released released what they call tiny plants. I remember seeing that at another Lowe's, and that was super cool. And you can see here, plant foldies. Look at how many plants we have available. And it's interesting because some of you plant foldies from other parts of the United States mentioned that y'all's big box stores are not nearly as full as North Dallas. I'm thankful to be living in North Dallas, or just the Dallas-Fort Worth area in general. There is a huge plant community here, and we always have many options to pick plants. If you ask me, you know, from last night's live premiere, I featured Peeta's Planters. If you haven't seen that video, please check it out. But I definitely support local businesses, but I don't mind showing you guys big box stores, because when somebody had asked me why I do daily plant shopping videos that feature big box stores, and my answer is always going to be because big box stores are accessible to everybody. And when something is accessible to everybody, that means plants are accessible as well. And I believe that plants need to be accessible to everybody. It shouldn't be a niche where somebody has to have hundreds of dollars to be able to buy a plant, and big box stores make it affordable for us to be able to purchase these plants. That's why I do a lot of big box store plant shopping videos. And while I do feature the same, you know, Plea Pan Ann, for instance, or this type of hanging basket, I just think it's fun to just be able to show you what currently is in our big box stores, because these are stores that are readily accessible. Now, this is interesting because this is a very yellow plant, but that plant was actually exposed to quite a bit of light to where it somewhat bleached it. I would call it sun stressing, but I don't know. That's pretty yellow for that plant. And you can see right here, guys, plant foldies. This is a Dieffenbachia of some sort, $12.98. Beautiful variegation on Dieffenbachia. The only thing about Dieffenbachia is they are toxic, so they're not pet friendly. I wouldn't you know, touch the sap that comes from a cutting, because it is toxic. It'll really irritate your skin, and so you just have to be careful. But as far as the beauty of Dieffenbachia, beautiful plants. Here's the thing I learned about Dieffenbachia. They do require quite a bit of light when grown indoors. If you're in a tropical country like the Philippines, they can literally grow outside in full sun and they're fine. I also know that Dieffenbachia, if you're able to provide them with higher humidity levels, they will also thrive a little bit better for you indoors. So those are just a couple of things that I would say is for Dieffenbachia. I definitely will add some Dieffenbachia to my collection. One Dieffenbachia I want to add would be what they call the Dieffenbachia White Dragon. Super cool looking plant, and I found it at Costco for $34.99. It was already like a 3 to 4 foot plant, so I might come back for that. Now, these Pothos plants, though, self-watering planters for $15.98. You can tell that they've been there for a while because they've started a trail. And plant foldies, check out this Hedera Helix, or what you call the Hedera Helix. This one's for $7.98. Spear Point Ivy. So this particular Lowe's actually has quite a bit of Hedera Helix, our favorite English ivy plants. And you can see that this one has gotten a little bit more light than it's supposed to. So it's got more yellowish neon leaves. Quite interesting when it comes to what you call sun stressing. And then over here for $7.98 is a Syngonium Maria. That is another Syngonium I honestly want to add to my collection. I used to have one. And the thing about Syngonium Maria is the more bright light you give it, the darker, more chocolate looking the leaves are going to be. Syngoniums are another easy to care for plant. It's a plant that some people will consider basic, but there are some really cool rare plants as well. Now, my opinion about spending $100 on a Syngonium cutting, I absolutely will not do that again. I did that for a Syngonium tricolor red spot, and let's just say that, you know, fast forward to 2024, that plant is more readily available than it was like 4 or 5 years ago. It's just amazing how plants again become more readily available, and then the pricing just becomes more accessible. But as far as Syngonium Maria, more light gives it better, darker foliage, and I think that darker foliage plants are super cool. If you put a darker foliage plant right next to like a neon or cream variegated plant, that's a really good combination. And then you can see right here, Syngonium, this is not Syngonium, I'm sorry. This is a Dracaena Dorado. So this is a type of Dracaena that can get tall, about 4 to 5 feet in height. It gets like a cane eventually, and it's a plant that doesn't have nearly as compact growth as some of the other Dracaenas, mostly like the Dracaena Warneckii. And then over here, we've got another Hedera Helix, or what you call a pixie ivy, Hedera helix. Really like that as well. And I'm actually curious, plant foldies, how many varieties of Hedera helix actually exist? I wish Costa Farms, and if anybody knows anybody at Costa Farms, could Costa Farms release the amount of or the number of English ivy they have in circulation? I'm just curious. And then over here is a really cool looking plant. Next to that Hedera helix was that mistletoe cactus, a trailing cactus, but this is another Hedera helix. This one again is another Hedera helix or English ivy that has gotten a lot of light. So you notice that the leaves are a little bit more bleached out in yellow. I do like the cream variegation. I would love to be able to grow an English ivy. I promise y'all, I really would love to be able to grow one indoors, but it's a plant that I would say is probably the most challenging house plant to grow indoors as a house plant. It's a little bit more spider mite prone. You don't want to overwater it. You don't want to underwater it. It just is a little bit more fussy. I feel like it's more fussy than even a calathea. Leave it in the comments, plant foldies, if you agree. But as far as English ivy, and for those that are new to the channel, or for those that have been watching this channel, I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to English ivy. Purely because I find the leaves beautiful. They look like maple leaves, and it's just one of those plants that I really want to be able to grow. I have sent 14 English ivy to Plant Heaven in all the time that I've tried to grow English ivy, and right now I'm not growing any currently because of that. But you can see right there that mistletoe cactus is super cute. And then again, we have another Hedera helix. This is the little Herman ivy, and you notice how the leaves are a little bit different. It does have some cool variegation, but it doesn't really have the trilobes that look more like a maple leaf. And speaking of maple leaf, shout out to all my Canadian plant foldies, Kathy, Chalita 15, all of you guys that are always on the live premiere chats. Thank you so much. I know that some of our chats may not have nearly as many people, and I think that's me. I'm partly to blame for that because my premieres haven't been as consistent. They've been a little bit later, sometimes as late as 9 o'clock, and typically I premiere at 7. I'm trying to do better, but you know, once I start to catch up, something else happens to where it pushes me back. But just know, plant foldies, if you are on the live premiere chats, really appreciate it. To my Canadian plant foldies, you guys are awesome, and I hope to continue to see you guys on these plant shopping videos. So going back to the plants, you can see this is a beautiful home decor, or better yet, this is known as a purple waffle plant. Beautiful plant. I've had one before. I've also had the Belgian waffle plant and the Snow White waffle plant. These are plants I can't grow in my space. So for a couple of reasons. They require a little bit more humidity. They definitely are a thirsty plant. And those are two things that I can't necessarily provide without putting a little bit more effort. So it's one of those plants that I'm just kind of have to hold off. You know, that would be a perfect terrarium plant, but not for one that I may not always have the time to like water or even really think about the humidity levels. Now over here, plant foldies, is another Dracaena Janet Craig compacta. Again, this is a beautiful specimen actually, and that is only for $7.98. One of the easiest plants to grow. It is a moderate grower. I wouldn't say it's a slow grower, but once it actually establishes, it'll get a little bit faster in its growth. Really like the look of that as well. And then look at this. This is a pretty big syngonium, and whoa, it's only in a 4-inch planter. I thought it was in the 5-inch, and you can see how crazy the roots are. It's super root bound. So clearly this plant has been living at this big box store Lowe's for quite a while. $5.98. This is a Syngonium Pink Illusion. You can see that there is that subtle pink vein on it. It looks like a white butterfly, but it's a beautiful plant. There is something about Syngoniums that attract me. I just really like that arrow head shape leaf about it, and they just come in so many different varieties. I do like this one though. If I find another one with a little bit more plants, I might end up just buying it. Typically I don't buy a lot of these exotic angel plants just because I have so many plants in general, but that's not a bad one. So let's take a look at this. Let me see. Yep, this one's gonna go home with me. So the reason why I'm gonna take this home is it's also super root bound. It's also really large for its size, and there are several plants for that are already growing. It looks super healthy. I just need to clean some of the dirt off of it, but As far as syngoniums, I have been introducing more syngoniums back into my plant collection. There are some syngoniums that I'm rehabilitating by just taking them outside. They're doing a lot better. I know I had like a syngonium 3 Kings that was on the brink of death. It's actually making a recovery and I'm super happy about that. But as far as the syngonium Pink Illusion, really nice looking one as well. And it's only for $5.98. So I'm definitely going to go back to that once I'm done shopping and I'm filming these video. And then you can see here plant foliage, another Hydra Helix. This one is another spear point ivy. Gotta love that Hedera Helix. And plant foliage, I'm actually curious, do any of you guys grow English ivy, or am I literally the only plant person on YouTube that talks about English ivy? I would really like to know. I'm just curious, and I'm just curious if anybody has successfully been able to grow one long term. If you have, I really want to know your secrets. Where did you place it and all of that? Now here is another Syngonium White Butterfly hanging basket by Costa Farms. This one's for $16.98. Another cool looking hanging basket, and what I like about it is look at how healthy the plant is, and there's just so many Syngonium plants all in one. It's super full. Now with Syngoniums, they tend to want to climb up a pole or a moss pole, so just know that these plants, or a lot of them, will want to climb up, specifically like the Syngonium albo or those climbing varieties, but all of them will want to vine and climb up. And then over here, plant foliage, we've got a Pink Angel Fittonia, and it's got some beautiful pink veining. This one is also for $16.98 by Costa Farms. And as far as Fittonias are concerned, they are very much water consumers. They need to make sure that they are, like, their soil never really fully dries out. They don't do well being underwatered, and if you can provide them with more humidity, they make better terrarium plants. And you can see that this one's in bloom, so that's interesting as well. I always find like tropical plants in bloom interesting. Now if you get blooms, especially on your tropical plants, I would chop it off as soon as possible, because plants that have blooms will spend more energy producing the bloom versus pushing out new leaves. And for the most part, we grow plants because we want that foliage. And speaking of foliage, look at this Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess, super sun stressed. You can see how yellow the leaves are, and you can tell that there's quite a bit of light that actually reaches this area. You know, this particular Lowe's, it has like a almost like a greenhouse section. It's not connected inside. These plants actually get a lot of like bright indirect light, and that's a reason why some of these plants are probably sun stressed, is because there is quite a bit of light. And then over here, plant foliage, another beautiful specimen from Costa Farms. This is another Epiprimnum aureum Pearls and Jade Pothos for $16.98. I am on a Pothos kick where I am starting to collect Pothos again. You know, I'm bringing it back to basics. So for a while, I was trying to collect all of these rare plants. Now I'm just going back to the easy care plants, the basic plants, the plants that people can find at big box stores. I don't mind it, and I'm really thankful that Costa Farms has quite a bit of these plants available, because I don't have a Pearls and Jade Pothos currently, and that will be a plant that I'm going to eventually add to my collection. So if I'm able to find like a Pearls and Jade Pothos hanging basket in the 8.5 inch, I will definitely purchase that. But as you can see here, plant foliage, many hanging baskets, many easy to care for plants like these Pothos plants right here. Look at this golden Pothos, $15.98. But look at how lush and full and green this plant is. Why would you not grow Pothos? And then you can't watch a grow folds video without seeing an Aglaonema red Siam. So this is probably the most common or second most common Aglaonema you will find at a big box store. This one is for $15.98. Really like the red borders on the leaves, the pink stems. And with this particular Aglaonema, while it can tolerate lower light conditions, or that's what people say, you need to provide it with a lot more light in order for you to get the really nice looking colors of an Aglaonema. But you know, red Siam Aglaonema, if you don't have one, you can go to any big box store and find one, and you'll find a pretty good price for it. I would recommend it. Same thing with the Pachira aquatica. Notice how there's that small Pachira aquatica by Urban Jungle, and then you have that large Pachira aquatica by Costa Farms right here. That one is for $35.98. So depending on your space, pace or whether you want instant gratification, and instead of waiting for that plant to get that large, you can just go to a big box store and buy a large plant. I've done that before. There are certain plants that I'm like, wow, that's a huge plant. I don't have to wait several years for it to grow and it's a good price. Let me buy it. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, lots and lots of plants. As far as like new plants, I haven't seen any new plants. Although I will say Xanthosoma has come back to big box stores. For a while, we saw a bunch of Xanthosoma, then they disappeared and now they're back. This is another trending tropicals by Costa Farms. Now this one again is for $20.98. I want to add a Xanthosoma because it reminds me of like a caladium crossed with an alocasia. Look at how beautiful the veining is on that. That is another plant that some people say is hard to grow, but we're gonna see. I've never grown a Xanthosoma, but that is another plant that I would like to add to my collection. And then also another Hydra Helix. This one is a mini ivy. Hedera helix or English ivy. You can see that the leaves are a little bit more miniature. It's really cute. It's really hard to grow though. I've had a mini Adam ivy and it went to plant heaven. So I want to admire it. I definitely want to admire it, but it's not coming home with me. And then this one right here, we talk about these exotic angel plants. Look at this. It's super root bound. The roots are healthy. $5.98. But look at how large this Croton gold dust is. Look at how tall it's already gotten. So you can see that this plant has gotten some pretty good growth conditions at this Lowe's. And it's probably because it is in a section where it's almost like a greenhouse. And look at that. Look at how root bound that is. That's another large one. I'm almost tempted to buy this, but knowing crotons, I need to slow down on it. Like I have to reassess what I want to do with crotons. I have one particular croton. It's still struggling even though it's outside. So I don't know, because if you saw my Philippines videos, those crotons were full-blown trees and I just wish I could grow such colorful foliage. You know, for me, colorful plants like aglaonemas, crotons, coleus, that's the reason why I like them. I also like this Hydra Helix. This is the PVC ivy Hedera helix, $5.98. It's already trailing. It looks like it's been a little bit sun stressed because you can see that the leaves are a little bit more yellow. But again, plant foldies, lots of plants. And you can see this one right here is a banana croton, or no, is that the Sunny Star Croton? Yeah, it's also root bound, but you can see how much growth it's already pushed out. That's another thing. Whenever you go big box store plant shopping, plant foldies, look at the bottom of the drainage hole. If you see roots popping out, then that means that that plant is really established and it's probably healthy. That's a good sign. Whenever you are going plant shopping as well, you want to look for new signs of growth, whether it's a new growth point, whether it's a new leaf that's unfurling. I tend to go look for that just because you know that the plant is established, you know that the plant is actively growing, and you know that there's a higher chance of success being able to grow that in your indoor space. Now, with all of the plants that I'm picking up, for instance, like this is another gold dust croton. It's one of the most basic crotons, but look at how beautiful that is. It does look like, you know, somebody speckled yellow, you know, splashed yellow paint on it. The thing about all of these plants I'm picking up, just know that when you take a plant home from a big box store or even a local plant nursery, you want to have pest preventative sprays. What a gorgeous specimen again of these Xanthosomas by Costa Farms, Training Tropicals. It's self-watering planters for $20.98. I definitely want to pick up one, so we'll see if I eventually get it. I am saving my money for PlantCon 2024. So plant foldies that are going to be visiting PlantCon 2024, it's literally 10 days away and I cannot wait for that. Just make sure if you are wanting to meet up with me to head to PETA's Planters around 11 a.m. on Saturday. That's when the big meetup is going to be. But anyways, plant foldies, I really hope you enjoyed my big box store plant shopping video today. It looks like we had a decent amount of plants to take a look at. Know that tomorrow I will have a brand new big box store plant shopping video featuring Costco plants. So definitely take a look at that. And as always, this is Richie at Grow Folds. Please subscribe to my channel with the notification bell on, and I'll see you on the next one. Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at the Home Depot off of Dallas Parkway in West Plano, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting that like button for this video. It definitely helps it out, as well as following me on Instagram at GrowFolds. That is the fastest way to get in touch with me, as well as subscribing to my YouTube channel with the notifications bell on if you like daily 1-hour plant shopping videos, as well as live chat during the live premieres. But it is a beautiful late afternoon out in North Dallas, and I wanted to check out this Home Depot. So I have not been to this Home Depot in quite a while, and so I wanted to see what plants that they have. I've been featuring a lot of other big box stores aside from Home Depot, so we're going to see what Home Depot has available. A little birdie told me that there might be some really nice plant sales, but for now we're going to take a look at some of these succulents and cactus. So this is an aloe vera Apache right over here, $24.98, and I do like the sun stressing of this one right here. It's got some of those red tones. Now with succulents and cactus, sometimes they end up getting some really nice variegation depending on how much light is given, and you can see right here for $29.98 we have a bunch of cold tolerant agave plants. Now for my grow zone, which is 8B, you can actually grow these agave in the landscape, and they will be able to survive some of our really cold, harsh winters. So again, when it comes to certain plants, specifically outdoors, you have to really look at your grow zone. I am based out in North Dallas, and that's why whenever I do some of my landscaping, my outdoor gardening, I really have to pay attention to certain plants that I can grow in my landscape. Some of these succulents and cactus may be able to grow in my landscape, like this one right over here is another one. This is another opuntia, I believe, which is a cold tolerant cactus. This one is a Opuntia Nel Pastel for $24.98. These are sourced out by Smart Plant. Love that. And then all of these really prickly looking cactus right here are what you call golden barrel cactus. This is for $26.98. Now plant foldies, and for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. I don't know a lot about cactus and succulents. I am learning, and it's interesting because I've seen, say, this golden barrel cactus, but I've never seen it be this ghostly white. So that is such an interesting look for it. That one's for $9.98. But what I can tell you about most succulents and cactus is that they do require a lot of light, bright indirect light, full sun. You just have to do your research on some of this care needs. For the most part though, as far as like soil, you want to make sure you have fast draining soil. You never really want to over water your cactus or succulents, because that will encourage root rot. That's the fastest way to kill a succulent or cactus, and as well as just making sure you are providing them with quite a bit of light. You can see right over here, this is an interesting one. These are what you call fire sticks, another type of succulent. And it's one that will actually get some of the red tones on the tips of its leaves. This one is for $26.98. So plant foldies, I will definitely get to the indoor tropical plants in just a bit, but I always like showing some of the outdoor plants. You know, it's always, amazing for me to just look at these plants. And while a lot of these plants are plants I've featured in previous videos, I love talking about them. So plant foldies, let me know in the comments what you think of the plants so far. And this is a desert rose, but oh my goodness, do you see this, plant foldies? This is a sport variegated desert rose. You see that variegation right here? And it's interesting because I've seen this desert rose featured at a lot of these Home Depots, the one with the red blooms. But out of the caudex, which is basically the trunk of this desert rose, it looks like one shoot has some variegated leaves. That's really interesting. So I may end up just buying this desert rose because I may want to just propagate the variegated stems to see if it'll actually hold the variegation. That is super cool. Now plant foldies, I know it sounds silly that I want to buy a plant. I think this is for like $29.98 because of the variegation, but you know, finding variegated sport plants at a big box store is always cool. I'm super envious though that there are some people that have found variegated monsteras just out in a field of big box stores, but this is really cool. I mean, unless I am looking at something different, plant foldies, this is variegation, right? Like it's got a different tone about it. super cool. And that's not grafted onto this codex. So I am gonna definitely buy this once I'm done looking through all of the other plants here. I did not intend to buy a desert rose, but it is a plant that I really like. Now it is a succulent type plant. Some people utilize it as bonsai, so that's going to be something I will eventually propagate. Now over here, plant foldies are a bunch of crepe myrtles. Now crepe myrtles really do well for hot conditions because they prefer to be in a hotter climate. They can be susceptible to mildew. So what happens is if you overwater them or water the foliage, they can get mildew. They like to be on the drier side. Now this one is for $32.28. These are first edition crepe myrtles. These have actually made it to the market. They used to be a little bit more uncommon about 6 years ago. Now you can see them at big box stores. You can see we've got a bunch of canna lilies, and I'm about to walk into the actual indoor tropical section, but I always like panning over and looking at the outdoor plants. As always, plant foldies, if you like specific plants that you want me to feature in my big box store plant shopping videos, please leave a comment in the comment section. I will do my best to film them. These right here, for instance, $7.98 vinca flowers. They are stars, especially for heat, hot weather like Texas. I mean, having 100+ degree weather in the summer is brutal, but this plant takes the toll in terms of just being able to tolerate that heat. They're drought tolerant and they enjoy full sun. So that is great for a landscape plant in the Texas weather. And now we're going to walk into the indoor tropical plant section. And I love the Home Depots that actually have a section that's separate, that's almost like a greenhouse. And I'm just going to pan over here, and it looks like they have a lot of large foliage plants and different types of plants. Right off the bat, plant foldies, do you notice how organized this place is? This is a Dracaena Steed Soul by Vigoro Plants for $14.98. Again, plant foldies really like the look of this particular Dracaena. It is a very nice looking Dracaena. It's one that is easy to take care of. It does already have that hardened cane about it. Dracaenas are super underrated plants, but they are a plant that I would recommend anybody growing, especially those that are going to start an indoor tropical plant collection. If you're a beginner, this is such an easy plant. It is low light tolerant. It can also be drought tolerant as well. I wouldn't push the envelope so much though on the drought tolerancy. Like if you want to just stay on top of the watering, what I would do is with the Dracaena, water it completely, give it a good soak, and then let the soil dry out 100% before you water it again, and you won't have any issues. It's the same thing with some of these other plants, and it looks like this table right over here with Vigoro Plants. These are all for $14.98. Are the easy care plants, and I am all about easy care plants. Plant foldies, you already know there is a reason why you call a plant a basic plant, and it's because it's simplified plant care tips. For instance, Sansevieria trifasciata for $14.98. Really nice looking plant right here. They have many different varieties of Sansevieria trifasciata, or what you call the snake plant. They are marketed as a very low light tolerant plant, but for me, Sansevieria or snake plants tend to be more similar to succulents in a way that they're very drought tolerant. And so when people say that they are low light tolerant, perhaps they are, but they're not really going to get the best growth being in low light. So I would always say if you're able to give them more light, actually most plants, give them that light. Epipremnum aureum golden pothos, and these are all for $14.98. But plant foldies, if you notice, this is a legitimate golden pothos. And what I mean by that is look at the variegation of this plant. Some golden pothos are marketed as golden pothos, but doesn't have the variegation that this one has. Now with pothos plants, especially with the golden pothos, they are marketed as well as being low light tolerant, being a little bit more drought tolerant, super easy to take care of. I would recommend this plant for any beginner. But if you notice here, the variegation is so high. I love it. And to maintain that variegation, like that is absolutely stunning plant foldies. You want to make sure that you are providing it with quite a bit of bright indirect light. I mean, this is such a beautiful golden pothos. Plant foldies, let me know in the comments if you agree This definitely has higher variegation than the typical golden pothos. And what I'm noticing about this Home Depot is that this Home Depot has some really nice, healthy looking plants, quite a bit of a selection, and the organization of these plants. Now you can see over here, plant foldies, we also have a ponytail pond for $14.98. I appreciate big box stores that actually have the organization like this, because if you saw from my previous live premiere last night where I visited a Walmart where I found Monstera Thai constellations, absolutely exciting to see that. The plants weren't necessarily organized like this. You can see they only have like one Monstera adansonii, but it's actually mixed in and organized with the Hoya carnosa. So they have a bunch of Hoya carnosa, Crimson Princess. Look at how healthy this Hoya is. Look at how beautiful the variegation is. I love the pink tone about it as well. That's more of like sun stressing. And I think that Hoya carnosa, while it is probably the most common Hoya you will find at a big box store, it's still got such beautiful variegation. Now, the more light you provide the Hoya carnosa or any Hoya plants, they tend to do better. They tend to sun stress. They tend to get some really nice coloration. You can see this one right here is mostly green, but it's still a beautiful plant. Hoyas are very hardy plants. I appreciate Hoyas because of their drought tolerance. Like literally, I didn't water a plant, my Hoya carnosa Crimson Princess, for an entire month. And while the leaves started to kind of get a little bit shriveled, once I watered it, within a day, it was back to its waxy texture, and I love that. But even this green variety of this Hoya carnosa, for instance, while it doesn't have nearly as much variegation, it's beautiful. And you can see plant foldies, it is a happy camper because it's already shooting out more shoots to give more foliage. And again, with Hoyas, the pinnacle of a Hoya success is when you've grown one and you're able to get one to bloom. I have yet to get my Hoyas to bloom, but you know, I have become somewhat of a Hoya head. And what people don't know is I just have to try to control myself, because literally I don't need another Hoya Crimson Princess, but that is such a beautiful selection here. And I'm just really happy that they have all of their plants organized. It's neat, it's clean, and it just inspires you to want to purchase more plants. Now, plant foldies, you can see right over here, we've got an Epipremnum aureum neon pothos, for instance, another beautiful plant. And with neon plants, you already know plant foldies, if you've been watching my videos, that I tend to gravitate toward neon plants. I think they're awesome. I think that they are just readily available, and they're basically overlooked sometimes. I feel like neon plants, not everybody gravitates to them, but it is a plant that if you want to maintain the coloration, you have to provide a lot of bright indirect light. And look at this right here. Like, I am tempted to buy this golden pothos right here because of the variegation. Like, you can even see the stems are variegated. And this is for $14.98. It is in a 6-inch planter. I would say it's a little bit more on the pricier side, but the quality and the health of the plant is gorgeous. I would totally do that. I am trying not to because I want to save some money for PlantCon 2024. It is literally 3 days. It is coming Saturday. And plant foldies, I am so excited to meet you guys at PlantCon 2024 in Dallas. It's Labor Day weekend. We are going to meet at PETA's Planters booth at 11 a.m. Saturday. I will be wearing my Grow Folds t-shirt, so you'll be able to recognize me, because I know that I have been faceless on YouTube, but I am excited to meet all of you plant foldies. And then you can see right here, plant foldies, beautiful Calathea medallion. This one is for $29.98, and you know, this is very deceiving. You know, somebody asked me on the live premiere chat what plant I would not purchase again, and unfortunately, sad to say, I will not be purchasing any Calatheas again. I have basically sent quite a bit to Plant Heaven this year. Even if I was growing them in hydroponics, they still didn't do well. So as far as Calatheas, I'm gonna just hold off for Calatheas for a bit. I mean, they have beautiful foliage, but the only thing is Calatheas are very finicky plants. They need higher humidity. They're very spider mite prone, and they need to have special water. Like if you water them with tap water, sometimes the leaves edges tend to be browning just because of the harsh water. So it's a beautiful plant to look at, and I love the fact that they have large size calatheas. I mean, this will probably take a while for a calathea to get that size, and that's why I love going to big box stores like Home Depot, especially this Home Depot. Like this Home Depot right here has an Alocasia regal shields, I believe. But you can see right there, if you see that that webbing right there, that is a leaf full of spider mites. So you have to be really cautious about that. And that's not to knock that, you know, that this store doesn't take care of their plants. It's just that alocasias tend to be a little bit more susceptible to spider mites. But you can see that it is a mixed container for $139. Beautiful plant. I wish I had my plant folding mist. It's neem oil spray. It would definitely eradicate a lot of the spider mites, but you can see that that is just the nature of alocasia. And then I'm going to spin around here. You can see that they do have the calatheas as well. This is a gorgeous Selum plant. This is for $24.98. When I was in the Philippines on vacation, they had massive ones growing out in the wild, in landscapes, and it is a beautiful plant. I do like the texture. I'm hoping that I will be able to get one of those, maybe a variegated form. And then over here, a bunch of Alocasia californias. Now with Alocasia california, you can actually grow this in Grow Zone 8B as a landscape plant, and it is actually considered a perennial. It will go dormant in the winter and then come back in the early spring, or not early spring, I'm sorry, late spring, early summer, just when the weather gets a little bit hot. I love the look of this one. I have a variegated form of it, and it's stunning as well. But this whole selection of plants, like all of these large foliage plants, it's very tempting to want to purchase a lot of these plants. Like right over here, we've got another Alocasia portora for $24.98. That is another commonly found Alocasia. And again, if you ever want instant gratification, Home Depot has the best large foliage plants, and probably the most cost effective as well. Like I know Walmart tends to have large foliage plants, but in terms of just having a selection like this, like look at this Aglonema Silver Bay, absolutely stunning. I am debating on whether I should buy a couple of large foliage plants. This one is for $32.98 by Nature's Way. These are ready to go plants, and I definitely agree. Alocasia Silver Bay, beautiful plant. And then we've got another Alocasia Regal Shields right over here. This one doesn't have any spider mites, I think. And then this one is for $29.98, which brings me to a point, plant foldies. Actually, I spoke too soon. You can see that there are a little bit of spider mites there. And again, that is not a knock at the big box store. It's just a lesson we have to learn when it comes to like big box or plant shopping, especially with Alocasias. You want to inspect the tops of the leaves, the bottoms of the leaves, the stems, the just everything about the plant to make sure that you don't bring a plant pest. Now, I would say if I am going to buy a plant from this place, I know for a fact, since there are spider mites present, that I would need to spray my plant with a bunch of neem oil. I would spray all of the plant, the top of the soil, the bottom of the soil, and just make sure that the plant is actually quarantined. Spider mites are not that bad, and actually spider mites tend to want to be in a place where there isn't nearly as much humidity. So I would actually put the plants in more of a place that has a little bit more humidity. I always like to show you guys my products that I use for my plants. So I honestly use Miracle-Gro all-purpose fertilizer. It's super cost effective. Miracle-Gro fertilizer is a basic fertilizer, but it will get the job done. I also use a liquid version of the Miracle-Gro fertilizer. I just put like a couple of trace drops into my water and pretty much water my plants with a little bit of plant food every single day. You can see right over here, this indoor plant food is amazing because then I'm able to actually water my plants a little bit more consistently, you know, especially in the growing season, and especially if you're growing plants in a lot of light, they need to be fed, and it's actually boosted a lot of my my foliage and growth on my plants. So that's some of the plant products I use. And we'll go back to the plants. Monstera deliciosa. This is another classic plant. Look at how beautiful that new leaf that unfurled is. I love how it's got that neon foliage for a Monstera deliciosa. And this one is for $29.98. Gorgeous looking plant. It is another plant that I would add in my plant collection. I currently have 3, but like some of my other plant friends, they actually have multiples of Monstera deliciosa. I think that it is such a gorgeous plant. Same thing with an Aglaonema silver bay, and I'm gonna go ahead and dub this Home Depot. I know that I've only just shown you a couple of these plants, but I would say this is probably the best Home Depot in all of DFW that I have recently visited, because look at that. Like, look at the silver foliage on this beautiful Aglaonema, and I want to buy this plant. I definitely do, because it is such a stunning plant. And plant foldies, I've talked about this in all of my videos, but I really think everybody, especially if you call yourself a plant foldie, needs to buy Aglaonemas. You need to get an Aglaonema silver bay. That is such a gorgeous plant, and it's such an easy plant as well. It can be put in a lower light space, but it is also inexpensive for the price that they're asking for. Over here is another Ficus lyrata. So I recently purchased another Ficus lyrata, which you will see in another video under my Costco plant finds. Definitely love Costco as well, since I found some Monstera Thai constellations. But this one right here is for $24.98. I love the big leaves of a Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree. My only care tips I would say for fiddle fig leaf is consistency on where you place it. It needs to be in bright light. You need to water it, but you need to stay on top of the watering as well. It likes humidity if you're able to provide it. But look at how beautiful this Aglaonema silver bay is, and I love the fact that it's already large. The thing about Aglaonema is they tend to take a long time to grow, so just being able to find something as massive as this is so stunning. And there are 3 different types of Aglaonema that I typically see at Home Depot. So we have that Aglaonema silver bay, that is, you know, a given, and you see that there is a sea of Aglaonema silver bay. So beautiful. But then we also have an Aglaonema white rain. Some people will also call this an Aglaonema golden bay. I really like this because the difference is it has that yellow tone about it in the middle, like the yellow veining, but also the stems are white. And I love white stem Aglaonemas. You can see that this has a little bit of cosmetic damage if I'm being picky, but overall, what a nice full looking plant. Sometimes Aglaonema can get very leggy at this stage, but you can see that these are super healthy plants. I hope that whoever buys these plants can provide a good home. I hope all of these plants end up getting bought, because this Home Depot has done a phenomenal job taking care of the plants. Plant foldies, would you agree? Like, would you agree that this is one of the best Home Depots? For my local plant foldies that live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, again, this is the Home Depot that is located off of Dallas Parkway in West Plano, Texas. It's right next to the Costco. I would recommend going here and purchasing plants, because I mean, look at this. Absolutely stunning. And this is only for, I believe, $29.98, so $30, and you have a beautiful plant like this that you can just put in a more fancy planter, a catch pot or something like that. Like, I am thinking about buying this plant, so this is going to be on queue to see if I'm going to buy this at all, but we'll see what that looks like. Plant foldies, what do you guys think of this one? Do you grow Aglaonema? And for those that actually have tuned into all of my videos, especially during the live premiere chats, thank you so much. I will ask if you can help me by pushing the like button for my videos. That is the biggest way you can support me. Obviously, watching my videos in its entirety, but hitting the like button really shows that engagement, which pushes out this content to even more plant foldies like yourself. And you can see I've shown you guys 3 different Aglaonemas. You've got the Aglaonema Golden Bay / White Rain, Aglaonema Silver Bay, and in plant foldies, I don't know what this particular Aglaonema is. If somebody can give me that plant ID for that, I would absolutely love it. I would like to buy all 3 of these. These are all $30. And, you know, if I bought all 3, that's $90 right off the bat. And I really am trying not to go on these impulse buys, but it's so difficult considering you're faced with such beautiful plants. I mean, look at how large the leaves are, plant foldies. Like, I am just getting super excited. Let me know if you would buy that Aglaonema, or of the 3, which one would you buy? If I had it my way and I had the funds, I would totally buy it. So plant foldies, again, if you want to support me besides just hitting the like button or leaving comments, there is an option called called super thanks or super sticker, where you can send like a monetary tip for these videos. That definitely has happened for me in the past, and honestly it goes to a good cause because it does fund some of my plant shopping videos. So feel free to do that. You are obviously not obligated. It is a little bit of a shameless plug, but you know what, sometimes you got to ask. You never know if somebody will come out there and help me out. And with plant con coming around, I definitely need all the funds to be able to get those plants. I mean, even this one, $19.98. We've got a Dracaena marginata colorama, beautiful plant that actually has better variegation when you give it a lot more light. And then over here we have, I believe, what you call a Dracaena Riki. It's got thinner leaves and it's beautiful as well. I love the green on green variegation, but I just want to pan over here and show you how large these foliage plants are. This Dracaena Riki is also for $19.98, and it is a beautiful plant as well. I like that green on green variegation. Absolutely stunning plant. It's a plant that I would recommend anybody wanting to buy something that has a little bit more narrow foliage. And then we also have a bunch of Majesty palms right over here. Gorgeous looking plant. And then, you know, with Majesty palms, though, it is always a common plant to find. Unfortunately for palms, I'm not really into them just because they require quite a bit of light. And that's the problem with palms, is that the lighting conditions. You know, this is only for $22.98. So if you want a large palm, you can definitely go to Home Depot. I will say big box stores are the way to go when it comes to large foliage plants. I feel like you get the best pricing for it. You can go to a local plant nursery as well, and I'm all about, you know, supporting local plant nurseries. But when it comes down to it, sometimes the pricing is just better at big box stores for the bigger the bigger plants like this. But as you can see, plant foldies, I'm just loving it, and I really need to buy me another Aglaonema Silver Bay. Like, this is stunning. It is such an underrated plant. I would say Aglaonemas are in general are so underrated, but like, why would you not add this plant to your plant collection? Like, I'm really curious, plant foldies, why you would not want to add an Aglaonema like that to your collection for $29.98. And you can see right here so many other plants to take a look at. So today I'm just super excited. I hope you stick with me till the very end because I want to show you all the plants. Really take some time to talk about these plants. Like right here, it's for $10.98. This is a Calathea roseo apicta. Again, with Calatheas, I wish I could grow them successfully. I'm really curious if anybody has been able to grow Calatheas successfully long term. Leave that in the comments. I am all about the comments in the comment section. So plant foldies, please let me know. For those that have actually left many comments in all of my videos, you guys are awesome. And then for the plant foldies that continue to go into my live premiere chats and engage with me, I love that. And for those that take the time to just hit that like button, just hit the like button, plant foldies, I'm telling you, it really helps me out. Thank you so much, because it just inspires me to go to a big box store like Home Depot and film, you know, more than an hour's worth of plants. And, you know, it's something that I want to continue to do. What's exciting though, as I show you these plants, is I am inspired to grow my plant collection again. I am getting ready to show you my house plant tour and show you some of my personal plants. It's just a matter of time once I get the plant styling, get my house cleaned up, and just have time to do that. Now over here is a Syngonium, $10.98, and I'm actually tempted to purchase this because I like the fact that this Syngonium has an interesting new leaf color of pink when it actually unfurls. That's actually a really nice looking one. It almost reminds me of like how some philodendron work, but look at that. That is a new leaf that's unfurled and it's pink, but then as it hardens, it becomes that green tone. If you look at the nuances of Syngoniums, I really like the look of it. You know, this one tends to be a little bit more of a rounder arrowhead shape, but even the veining, the pink veining, the speckling of the green, and just the fact that it's just got a beautiful minty green foliage. I am happy that I've been able to rehab some of my Syngonium. So I had a Syngonium Plum Illusion that wasn't doing well. I put it underneath a tree outdoors, and like, you know, now I was actually checking it yesterday, and it's actually nice and full like this again. It was super leggy, but it has bounced back. So plant plant foldies, especially with syngoniums. If you're ever battling, trying to rehab a syngonium, like say if it's got like thrifts, mealy bugs, spider mites, and you had to chop it back, or if it's leggy, put it outside, put it in a place where it gets some really good morning sun, and it, give it about a month, and I'm telling you, it always bounces back. It'll actually put on a lot more growth. And for $10.98, I think that it's a good price because it is in a terracotta planter. That is another syngonium. So I'll tell you, plant foldies, I will be going back to this Home Depot when I have a little bit more funds. The fact that, PlantCon is literally in 3 days, I want to make sure that I'm saving every possible penny I can save, because at the end of the day, big box stores, as beautiful as these plants are, these plants will get restocked again. The plants that I will see at PlantCon may not be available. There are a lot of plants, wish list plants, that I want to purchase that even when I look online, it's very challenging to find. The fact that I'll be able to see them in person, make selections, it is worth the wait. It is worth spending quite a bit of money. I will tell you, my budget is going to be close to 1K. For PlantCon. We'll see, because I have been working super hard about producing plant content. Your viewership has really funded me in the last 9 months, and we're almost at 10,200 subscribers. So I'm hoping to get to 11,000 by the end of the year, maybe more, but it really just depends, plant foldies. Hopefully I'm keeping you guys engaged and keeping everybody entertained, because I love showing you plants like this, like that Chiflera, beautiful. And obviously you can't go to Home Depot and not find a Hydra Helix. Beautiful English ivy, or the correct way to say it is Hedera Helix. For those that are new to the channel, I mispronounce Hedera Helix as Hydra Helix, because when I first started doing plant shopping videos, I was actually saying Hydra Helix when it was actually Hedera Helix. It's to make a long story short, it is a plant foldy inside joke, staple, whatever you want to call it. Now, for those that are diehard plant foldies, I will be designing a Hydra Helix t-shirt for now. But for those that are interested in supporting me, I do have my Grow Folds t-shirt available in 4 different colors. Definitely check out my Instagram stories. Definitely follow me on Instagram and send me a message. That is the fastest way to connect with me. I haven't created a Facebook page yet for Grow Folds. I will eventually do that once I have time and really have it set up. But English ivy, very challenging plant to grow. It's one that I commend you if you're able to grow them long term. And then you can see right here we have some philodendron. I would say this is a Rojo Congo. Maybe it's a Rojo Congo for $19.97. And then this is another proven winners, philodendron Bellitier, right over here. Now, I believe these are actually on sale for $9.98. They have proven winners plants, a lot of them for 50% off. So that's really cool. I would actually buy this philodendron Bellitier for $9.98. That is a really good price. But I ended up getting one from Indonesia from a place called Green Spaces ID. I'm sure you've heard of that before, but Green Spaces ID, if you want to import plants from Indonesia, I would highly recommend them. My experience with them has been amazing, and they will be at PlantCon. I actually pre-ordered a bunch of plants to pick up at the convention. So super excited about that. You can see plant foldies. We have another golden pothos. Notice how this one isn't as variegated as the ones that I showed earlier. This one is for $7.98. And then we have another ficus elastica. This is known as the Chloe, I believe. Maybe, or no, actually I don't think it's the Chloe, because the Ficus elastica Chloe has the rounder leaves. But as I pan away here, plant foldies, what great organization. This place is super full and impactful, and you can see here we have another Marble Queen Pothos. This one hasn't gotten nearly as much light. $7.98 in a 4-inch planter. With Marble Queen, you have to give it quite a bit of light for it to have that beautiful cream variegation. Otherwise it's more of like that lighter green color. Here we have some Tradescanthia that are looking a little bit leggy. Unfortunately, that's what happens with Tradescanthia, is that they can get leggy. To remedy that, though, you want to pinch it back and just keep trimming it, and it will promote new growth. Tradescanthia are easy to grow and propagate in water, so you can always share cuttings. And that's the thing, plant foldies, when it comes down to like plant saving tips, I would say plant cuttings, propagating for each other. Sharing plant cuttings are probably the best way to really grow your plant collection. Now, as far as a perfect spider plant, this is why I think that this Home Depot is probably the best Home Depot in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because look at how gorgeous this spider plant is. There's not a lot of browning on the tips, just a little bit, and you can see there is one little baby spider plant, $19.98. What a good looking plant. And you know, spider plants are hard to come by, but they are plants that are readily available. It's just that finding them in a really good state is sometimes a challenge. But as I pan away here, look at how organized this Home Depot is. Jade pothos here. We've got a cast iron plant right over here. Beautiful foliage, dark foliage. Really like the look of that as well. This one is for $15.98. They are called cast iron plants because they are super durable plants. It's one that I haven't gotten. I do want to find more of a variegated form, but as I pan around here, plant foldies, I mean, this is what you call a very full and impactful, beautiful big box store. Like, I love this, and I haven't been here in such a long time. I'm so glad that I've traveled further down south to go check this out, because look at this. Easy Care Houseplants, Epipremnum aureum or golden pothos. This one isn't as variegated. You can see that it's more green, but still beautiful plant. It's already trailing, and it's only for $19.98. These are by Vigoro Plants, but I love the plant styling in the organization. So kudos to the management team that really takes care of these outdoor plants. Obviously, they have people that may know a little bit more about plant care. That's the thing about big box stores. They are not all created equal. Some places have just better staff that really take care of the plants. Like right here, Epipremnum aureum, neon pothos. I'm just going to show you this whole table of pothos plants. This one right here, to get that neon color, again, you want to give it as much bright indirect light. That is one of my favorite plants. And you know, for a neon colored plant, that is still a pretty fast grower. The golden pothos and neon pothos are pretty fast grower. It's when you start to look at the more highly variegated versions, like the Enjoy, Pearls and Jade, Manjula pothos, those are a little bit slower growing. But obviously these golden pothos, which I would actually call jade pothos because it's mostly green, are going to be a lot more vigorous in its growth. Again, plant foldies, if you haven't gotten a pothos plant, add yourself a pothos plant. They are so cool. I love seeing restaurants, actually a lot of restaurants in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, whenever they have plants, actually have pothos plants. Like this one right here, for instance, Marble Queen pothos, $19.98. But I love the fact that they're utilizing more real plants. I'm not really a fan of artificial plants, and pothos plants really make a good, easy to care for plant. One that I would recommend, one that I talk about often, and one that I think if you are going to call yourself a plant foldie, you definitely need to add to your collection. Like, obviously I collect more rare and uncommon plants, but I also like to stick to the basics. I think when you stick to the basics, that's when things good things happen for your plant collection. I mean, look at that golden pothos right next to the neon pothos. I mean, I'm almost tempted to buy another neon pothos hanging basket. I already have one that's doing very well. And then we're gonna pan out and show you this gorgeous large size of a Dracaena Steed Soul. I am so tempted to buy this plant foldies. Like, I have to giggle and just think how much money I could have possibly spent here. I could have probably spent a good $400 or $500 just buying plants, because this one is only for $19.98. And again, this isn't a 10-inch planter. It's ready to go. It's a plant that's easy, and you know, you don't really see a lot of large Dracaena Steed Souls like this. What I like about this Dracaena is the newer growth is a lighter yellow tone, and as it gets older, the lower leaves tend to be a little bit more green, so it really has that like flame effect about it. What a gorgeous plant, and it is another plant that can tolerate lower light conditions. It's an easy to care for plant, and I just think that a lot of times people really don't look at Dracaenas, but I feel like if there's more talk about it, more discussion about certain plants, that maybe there's going to be a little bit more interest on it. You know, when you talk about plants, sometimes it's the it plant or the trending plant that makes people want to purchase plants, but then we don't think about the care tips, the accessibility, the pricing of plants. So I urge plant foldies, especially those that watch my content, to really step back, think about some of these more easy to care for plants. Right next to it is a cordyline Hawaiian tea plant, kiwi, beautiful plant for $19.98. And you know, with cordyline plants, I love the look of this one particularly because it does have a lot of leaf interest. Now, the more sun that you give it, actually light that you give it, the better the coloration is going to be. These can get very large, and I love cordyline plants. I just wish they can grow indoors more successfully for me because they have a very high chance of getting infested with spider mites. They just appear. So if you are going to grow a cordyline tea plant indoors, you definitely want to give it quite a bit of bright light. Put it in front of a south facing window or a west facing window, or grow it under a grow light. And I would definitely spray it with neem oil at least once or twice a week to make sure that the plant is actually pest free. I would also water it by just taking it into the shower and just hosing it down, so that way the leaves get cleaned up. Now, this China doll plant, as much as I love it, this is another plant that I wouldn't add to my collection, and it's not because it's not a beautiful plant. This is actually a really good price for a large one for $19.98. It's just that it is a very thirsty plant. It is a plant that requires a little bit more light, and whenever you combine a plant that needs a lot of water as well as bright light, that makes that plant, at least in my growing conditions, a little bit more challenging to keep up. I like plants that are low light tolerant, drought tolerant, and fast growers. That is the ideal plant for me. Now, you know, China doll plant does grow pretty fast. You just have to water it quite a bit. Now, this is an easy to care for plant. All of these plants, for the most part, on this wall, I mean, look at how beautiful it looks. It looks like a jungle. And I'm just going to pan over here and show you a bunch of these snake plants. Again, these are all for, I think, let's take a look. Snake plant for $24.98. That is actually a really good price as well. Low light tolerant. It's just a little bit slower growth for me, so I'm not so into snake plants unless it's the starfish snake plant. And you can see plant foldies. They just have so many large plants to pick from. This is a ZZ plant, and it is a beautiful one. I love the natural shine of a ZZ plant. This is just a green variety, and some people may not be into ZZ plants, but I love them because they're probably the easiest house plant to grow. This one is for $29.98. That's actually not a really bad price at all, considering that it's already a pretty large plant, and it's one that's ready to go into a indoor space. And then over here are a bunch of philodendron rojo congos. I love philodendron rojo congo. It is another basic philodendron for $26.98. That's a really good price. Super good price. Look at the new leaves that unfurl. I love the new leaves that unfurl. This is a philodendron that tends to be more of a clumping philodendron versus a philodendron that needs to be on a pole. Eventually, it will need a little bit of support. All philodendron tend to do that, but you can see that it has larger foliage leaves. I ended up getting a philodendron moonlight about this size. It's a yellow philodendron, and it's absolutely stunning. But I do love rojo congo because of the red stems, and then just a very nice, robust, large leaves. That is not a bad price at all. And so if I wanted to buy more large plants, this is basically the Home Depot in all of Dallas that I would recommend anybody buying large plants. Like, this is the best Home Depot I've seen thus far. We'll see as I continue to look at some of these Home Depots, but just the organization and the health of the plant. Yes, we did see some alocasias with some spider mites, but I mean, look at how nice the foliage looks and just how beautiful they've organized them. Over here are some yucca plants for $19.98. I will say yucca remind me of Dracaena, but for some reason there's just not an allure for me to really get into yucca. So I don't know a lot about the care tips for yucca. So for those that actually grow yucca, please let me know. And then over here, Ficus elastica burgundy, beautiful rubber tree plant. Now, when I was in the Philippines, these plants, these Ficus burgundy, were actually full-blown trees. Literally, they were growing in full sun, 20 to 30 feet in height. And so for those that want to see the full potential of this plant that we call a house plant in the western part of the world, please check out my Philippines plant videos. You will see so many of these plants that we're looking at a big box store, but in their native habitats, they are absolutely stunning. But for today, I am just super impressed about this Home Depot. I think that it's just very inspiring. The organization alone makes me want to buy plants. I don't know if you get that vibe from me, just the way I'm talking about these plants, but plant folies, I'm so excited. Like, this is a another alocasia plus marble queen pothos. I mean, that is a beautiful statement piece. Like, if you had a large house with tall ceilings and just all of these bright windows, that would be a perfect addition. $139, that is not a bad price at all. It's already ready to go, and all you have to do is put it behind a truck, haul it over, and then call it a day. Well, obviously I would take, neem oil spray and make sure to spray that down because it is an alocasia. But this is why I wanted to go pan over here, because look at all of these plants that are readily available to purchase. And plant foldies, this is what was the main event. I wanted to check out all of these proven winner plants. This is a Philodendron gloriosum, and what I think is interesting about the Philodendron gloriosum, it has some amazing looking leaves, but this is an actual philodendron that does not really want to climb. It actually is considered a crawling philodendron. So what that means is it actually goes across the soil versus wanting to climb up a pole, a tree, or anything of that nature. So if you're going to go grow a Philodendron gloriosum, you want to give it more of a horizontal type of container or planter, something that's a little bit more shallow and rectangular versus something round, so that way it has room to crawl. I think this is an interesting plant. It is a plant that is a little bit more susceptible to spider mites, and that's because it has that velvety texture about it. And what's really cool is these proven winner plants, the ones we're going to be taking a look at, are originally $29.98, but now they're only $14.98, so they're literally pretty much half off. And I'm super excited because I love proven winner plants. I think proven winner plants are amazing in a sense that they have great selections, especially the Leaf Joy series. So I'm just taking a look at all of these gloriosums. You can see that this is looking for some place to crawl. I actually have a Philodendron gloriosum, but with this type of sale, I definitely want to purchase a couple of plants. I think that proven winner plants are typically super healthy and they just have a really good variety, like even this right here. So I've said this before in previous videos, but Monstera deliciosas from proven winners have really nice, healthy looking leaves. Typically, they don't have a lot of like cosmetic damage to the leaves. For some reason, either I just get lucky to find great looking Monstera deliciosas, but again, this one is only for $14.98. And then we're going to be looking at a Ficus elastica tiniki. So I love Ficus elastica tinikis, and this one's actually a pretty good size one. It's a pretty tall one. I would recommend typically buying Ficus elastica tiniki at like Trader Joe's, because they usually sell this size for $12.99, but a Ficus elastica ruby at this size for only $14.98. That is such a good deal. I love any type of ficus plant that comes from proven winners. With ficus plants like this, you definitely want to provide bright light. In tropical countries like the Philippines, Southeast Asian countries, these trees actually grow in full sun. They love humidity, so that's another plus for ficus trees. These are easy to propagate as well, so you can actually take cuttings and actually root them in water. If you want to promote branching, so say this has just got a single stem, if you cut the top of the actual ficus off, it will promote some more branching, which makes it more of a tree form. But as you can see, plant foldies, I'm super excited to just see that these plants are literally 50% off. So here's another Monstera deliciosa, and honestly, this is such a cute looking Monstera deliciosa. I like the shape of it, and you can see that it has a new leaf unfurling. And if you just pan away, look at that. Look at how perfect the leaves are. They're fenestrating. This one is ready to just be attached to a pole. It's ready to get larger leaves, and I just really love how healthy and perfect the leaves are. There's no rips or damages, and you can see that this looks like there are no pests on it. I would definitely want to buy this Monstera Deliciosa, but since I am in the hunt to buy some more of these proven winter plants for actually $14.88, and I double checked with the employee just to make sure that all of these were on sale, and she said they were, so I'm super excited for that. Now over here is an Alocasia longiloba. I ended up buying one of these earlier in the year, and it's actually declined in health, but it's on its way back up. What I want to do with all of these Alocasias is to actually transfer them in pond. I recently bought pond off of Amazon. They actually had it in stock, so I will be receiving that on Sunday. Again, plant folies, I am super excited to go to Plant Con just to see what plants they have available. But for now, I am still going to be purchasing some of these plants. Like this Ficus umbellata, beautiful plant. I ended up actually buying a Ficus umbellata where it actually didn't do as well. I don't know if it ended up getting spider mites or what, of some type of pest, but it didn't do well. So I started to really pay attention to the plant. This actually looks like almost like an overgrown weed, but it is a beautiful plant. It is more spider mite prone than the typical Ficus plant, so you have to really be cautious about that. This is a Ficus Cythis Pula. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's called an African ficus, and I definitely will be purchasing this today since it is only for $14.88. It's such a good deal, and truthfully, even after PlantCon, if there is a sale for these plants still at this Home Depot, I will go ahead and visit it, check it out, and see what other plants I'm going to purchase. But you can see here another beautiful Ficus elastica taniki. Really like the look of that as well, and you can see that this new leaf is unfurling. Love how it's got a nice textured leaf around it. That's like a half moon. And then you can see right here, this is that African Ficus. Beautiful plant. And you know, with Ficus plants, again, the rule of thumb is to make sure that you are providing quite a bit of bright light for it to really do well. If you don't provide it enough light, most Ficus plants will not do well. It will actually drop its leaves. Some of them are even more finicky than others. Some of them are a little bit more forgiving. I would say the Ficus elastica or rubber tree plants tend to be a little bit more forgiving than say like a Ficus benjamina, which we'll be looking at in just a minute. But all of the plants I'm going to be showing you are on sale for 50% off. And as I pan away over here, what beautiful organization they have at this Home Depot, and it just makes me excited and actually more inspired to actually shop at big box stores. You know, I was giving a little bit more of a critique on the Walmart that I saw a bunch of Monstera Thai constellations. It's just really nice that a big box store like Home Depot, for instance, has really good organization. I would say Walmart does too. I would also say that not all big box stores are created equal, in a sense that sometimes maybe the talent pool that they have, or maybe just the priorities and focuses of a specific big box store. But this one clearly takes pride and attention to their indoor plants or their plants in general. You can see right over here again another Ficus benjamina. This one's called Anastasia for $14.88, originally $29.98. So I love it when proven winter plants are on sale, and it just is really exciting. Now these plants, these Ficus benjamina type plants that we're looking at, like this variegated Ficus benjamina, I will purchase this in the hopes of being able to grow it. The thing about this is, look at how gorgeous that variegation is. The only problem with this plant is it does need to be placed in an area where there is quite a bit of light, and it doesn't like to be moved around a lot. Once you find a space like maybe a south facing window or a western facing window, you want to make sure that you keep that plant there. It doesn't like to be moved around a lot, and this plant is not a stranger to letting you know that it is unhappy. It will literally drop its leaves, but if you're able to get it to thrive, it will become a full-blown tree. And you know, a lot of people even call them indoor tropical trees. They look stunning and they're beautiful, and they are just another plant that if it wasn't on sale I would not buy. But I am so excited that the green shield plant is actually on sale. This is an Art Deco Rivera. I can't really pronounce the actual like Latin scientific name, but this has been another plant that has been on my list to purchase at a big box store. Actually 2 nights ago, I was filming, I saw that this as like a trending tropicals house plant. by Costa Farms for $19.84, but this one is even more full, has larger leaves, and it's just a beautiful plant. Now this one has a little bit of cosmetic damage, so I will not be buying this, but this is definitely another plant I will be purchasing today because I just love the patterns on the leaves. Like, look at this one right here. I think I'm going to end up purchasing this one. And what's promising about this plant is I can see that there are some new leaves unfurling. Here's the thing, plant foldies, I don't know all of the plant care tips for this particular plant, so you'll have to give me some care tips for this green shields plant. I am excited to add it to my collection, and even though it is only about 3 more days before PlantCon, I figured why not, right? You live once. I can earn some money again, and then with your viewership and help with the likes and the comments, I have been able to get some monetary value from these plant shopping videos. So I feel like I can treat myself today. Now, plant foldies, check this freckled splash Hoya carnosa, and I love proven winners Hoya carnosa, or just Hoya plants in general. I do think that these 3.5-inch planters are a good value. They're only for $5.98, and I am gonna go ahead and buy me a Hoya. I do like the little splash that it has, and you can see that it's got a beautiful leaf around it. The only thing about it is I have to really look closely at this plant. I want to make sure that there aren't any mealy bugs. That's the thing about some Hoyas. That is my biggest fear, is that Hoyas are susceptible to mealy bugs. And while mealy bugs are a little bit easier to treat, they're just annoying in a sense that it takes a while to treat them. So you can see over here, plant foldies, we've got another beautiful plant. This one is another peperomia. This is just a green peperomia obtusifolia, another nice looking plant that I would recommend for a beginner. All of these proven winner plants, like this one right here, I'm going to go ahead and buy me a variegated Hoya Wyetii. Beautiful plant. This is also known as a Hoya Quintiana, $5.98. This one is highly variegated, but I don't know if I see signs of mealy bugs. I'm a little bit paranoid, so if I do buy that, that is definitely going to get a big spray down, and I'm also going to put some systemic granules to make sure that the soil has a little bit of poison to kill any potential eggs. I am super cautious about just bringing plant pests home from big box store plants, because not to knock the big box store, but there's just a lot of exposure to people. It has traveled a lot, and sometimes these plants may not always be at their best health. Although I will say at this Home Depot plant foldies, like, let's just say that this one has had a very good selection of plants. A lot of their plants are super healthy. I mean, even this Tradescanthia Feeling Flirty, love the look of it. I need to get another one of these. I ended up sending it to Plant Heaven, but it is a beautiful pink Tradescanthia. I love pink plants. We all know I love pink plants because I talk about pink plants often, and this is just another plant that I would like to add. This is a Calathea obtusifolia, also for $14.88. As beautiful as a Calathea obtusifolia is, this plant is just never going to make it back into my home, simply because I have sent about 3 of these to Plant Heaven, and it's just heartbreaking because Calatheas have probably the most stunning foliage of a lot of plants in general, but it is just such a tough plant. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, they've got a lot of different proven winner plants. Now, proven winners is typically seen at Home Depot, more so than maybe Costa Farm plants. I will see some Costa Farm plants, but for the most part, you will see Vigoro plants and proven winner plants typically at Home Depot. And this is a reason why I love shopping different big box stores. Like, you can see right here for $19.98, another gorgeous Hoya carnosa. This is a Crimson Princess, nice little hanging basket. Love the variegation. And again, with these Hoya carnosa or Hoya plants in general, give it a lot of bright light, you'll get better coloration. Give it more humidity, you'll also get better growth. And if you give a light and humidity, you may be able to see some gorgeous fragrant Hoya blooms. And that's something that I hope to be able to experience someday, to be able to get my Hoyas to bloom. I've actually been laugh at me if you want, but I've actually been fertilizing some of my Hoyas with Bloom Booster, where it has a little bit more I think, is it phosphorus, that actually increases the potential of blooms. But you can see right here, nice green foliage on this Hoya carnosa, just in a little hanging basket, and I absolutely love it. $19.98, but we'll go ahead and pan away and show you all of the gorgeous plants they still have available here. But what's super exciting is the fact that 1488 for all of those proven winner plants on that table. That is awesome. And I'm just going to pan around over here. So we still have a bunch of these Majesty palms. Now these are also on sale for $44.98. That is a massive palm for that price. So it looks like this Home Depot specifically has some really good sales going on. So again, if you are in the West Plano, Texas area, definitely check this out. This is off of Dallas Parkway. And then over here again is another Alocasia Regal Shields. This one is actually in bloom. You can see that it's got a beautiful purple stem and it's got some nice looking foliage as well as just having a little bit of a ground cover of that Marble Queen Pothos. That is also for $139. Again, that's a ready to go plant. So if you have a large space and you want to put something like that in it, that would be a great addition. And then plant foldies, we've got this typical Vigoro hanging basket fixture, but look at all of the hanging basket plants. They look super healthy and lush. This one particularly is just an Epipremnum aureum jade pothos for $19.98. This is a pretty fast growing plant, specifically this pothos. And then I'm going to walk over here, plant foldies, and just show you some more of these plants. So we've got a bunch of larger Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf trees right over here. Now with fiddle fig leaf trees, they do require quite a bit of light. So just make sure that you have the light available for them if you're going to grow them indoors. And then we have some gorgeous looking Alocasia Regal Shields. The only thing about Alocasia Regal Shields, and let's take a look at the price, $39.98. Really good price for such a large plant. This plant definitely needs to be monitored for spider mites because as gorgeous as the leaves are, these are very susceptible to spider mites. And it's unfortunate because that plant would be like a trending plant if it just didn't have that susceptibility to spider mites. Now over here, we've got some Polea peperomoides or Chinese money tree plant. Look at how gorgeous this is. And what I like about this particular plant is it actually produces a lot of pups. These are also for $19.98. And actually these hanging baskets from Vigoro are a lot fuller than the typical ones I see at most Home Depots. So just the quality of plants that they have at this Home Depot, I really have to commend it. And plant foldies, if you are in the live chat or even in the just watching this video, please leave your comments. Let me know if this big box store, this Home Depot, has some more healthy looking plants. I mean, look at this Philodendron hederaceum Brazil. Love this plant. It's a classic plant. It's a plant that I would definitely recommend for anybody that is growing houseplants indoors. I recently picked up a couple of Philodendron hederaceum just because you can never really get enough of them. They're easy to propagate. You can take several cuttings as it starts to trail and root them in water. Very easy to root in water, so propagation is fairly easy with this particular plant. Now, if you were to grow that on a totem pole or a moss pole, the leaves would get larger, and that's just what the natural habit is in the wild. And then we're just gonna walk over here again, and I just want to show you how lush and green and full this gorgeous looking nursery area at this Home Depot. Love the fact that they have all of these plants arranged, and you can see right over here, for instance, beautiful Epipremnum aureum golden pothos. I like the ones that I showed earlier because they had some really good variegation, but this one actually has some pretty good variegation as well. Again, plant foldies for this golden pothos. While it is a basic plant, while most people would find this very common, very typical, I still think that you should have it in your plant collection. I definitely have it in my plant collection. I have a bunch of cuttings that I need to pot up in soil. They're ready to go, and they're just very easy to share as well. That is a plant that has a lot of versatility. You can actually grow it in many different lighting conditions, although I would always recommend bright indirect light to maintain its gorgeous variegation. And then obviously these Chinese money tree plants are Polea peperomoides, beautiful plant. And then we also have these Monstera deliciosas here, the larger forms. Now these ones are not as perfect as the ones from proven winners. The thing about Monstera deliciosa is if you do provide it with quite a bit of light, its actual growth rate increases substantially. So more light means more happy plants. Obviously you want to make sure that it's not like full sun, but just that gentle morning light is really going to help out the plants. As you can see here, we do have another sea of Alocasia regal shields. We've got some gorgeous looking Ficus lyrata over here. And, you know, with Ficus lyrata, you could just never go wrong with Ficus lyrata. Fiddle fig leaf trees used to be the plant. It used to be in a lot of like interior design digest magazines. Everybody had to get a fiddle fig leaf tree in their home. Although most people don't understand that this plant is actually not a beginner plant. It's a plant that does require some care. Actually, consistency is the best way to kind of put it on what its care needs are. For instance, if you're going to water it, you want to make sure that you stay on the watering. So let the soil dry out completely, but don't let it go through a big period of drought. It's not going to like that. It's actually going to drop its leaves if you do that. And then we're just going to walk over here again and just show you all of the plants just one last time and really show you what they have available here. Gorgeous Aglaonema Silver Bay, for instance, and just more plants. Definitely impressed with the plants they have there. And then I did want to show you these are normally $19.98. These Leaf Joy hydroponic plants. These are $9.99, which is a more feasible price. I think that $20 for this is a little bit much to ask, but look at that. That is a beautiful Syngonium milk confetti. And then we have another type of Syngonium right here. Honestly, these are more like water propagations to me, but I do love the Leaf Joy series, the H2O bowls. We've got some Monstera Adansonii, and these are all 50% off again. They are $9.99 each. We've got some golden pothos right over here. Very lush looking golden pothos. And again, these are easy to create. I actually have some plants growing in hydroponics. My anthuriums and also my aglaonema are growing in hydroponics. They're doing okay. And then I did want to pan out outside just to show you how gorgeous that Rodeo oyster plant is. This is actually in a succulent arrangement here. And you can see this is for $26.98. I do love how beautiful the pink coloration of this particular Rodeo oyster plant is. It is one of my favorite plants. It is a plant that you can grow indoors. The pink is more prevalent though when you actually give it a lot more light. And then I did want to show you just a couple of more cactus and succulents out here. You can see that pink. That is just so beautiful. I think that is the most beautiful pink plant that I've seen so far in this entire episode. I have several varieties of that in my plant collection. And then you can see right here, we've got another succulent aloe vera type arrangement. Now with succulents and cactus, again, you just want to make sure that you are providing it with quite a bit of bright light. Some will require full sun. And as far as the soil plant folies, again, when it comes to cactus and succulents, you want to make sure that the soil does not remain drenched with water. They prefer to be more so on the drier side. So I would definitely do that. I would refrain from watering them often. A little bit more drought actually goes a long way for succulents and cactus. Like you can see right here, this one is another plant. I really like the neon pink veining on the edges of the leaves. That looks really nice. And then we have some more plants to take a look at here. You can see that this one is a nice shape. I do like the coloration of it. I love succulents that actually have hints of pink succulents. And, you know, when it comes down to it, I hope I'll be able to find some really interesting looking rare variegated succulents at PlantCon. I just can't believe that it is literally just around the corner. I'm hoping to be able to meet a lot of the plant foldies and just to really see all of these plant vendors. Definitely want to support all of the local businesses and even the international vendors that are coming around. Definitely check out Green Spaces ID, for instance. They've got some amazing plants from Indonesia. And, you know, all of these plants, though, when you look at these big box store plants, it's just nice to see that these are consistent. You can find these plants. So say you don't purchase a plant today, just know that if it is in a big box store, they eventually will get restocked. There are some plants though that are super healthy and lush that you may want to go ahead and pick up right then and there. For instance, that Aglaonema Golden Bay or that Aglaonema White Rain I wanted to purchase in the Silver Bay, I'm going to hold off from buying those since I am going to be buying those proven winner plants since they're on sale, just because I know that those plants will eventually get sourced out again. They had quite a bit of a selection. So again, plant foldies, when it comes down to it, sometimes you have to make those decisions where there is a want, there is a need, and there is a necessity. If you ask any plant foldy though, I feel like we will always default to it is a necessity. I feel like some of those aglaonemas, for instance, that I'm leaving behind are a necessity, but it's more so of a want. It's something that I can eventually get. But yeah, plant foldies, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video so far. It is always fun to take you guys out to big box stores. I mean, you can see right here, these are for $3 for $10, so you can get an arrangement of different types of cactus and succulents. I just wish I had a little bit more interest in succulents and cactus. I don't really have as much of a fancy as compared to you know, tropical aeroids, for instance, bonsai, that sort of thing. So plant foldies, in the comment section though, leave in the comment section what plants you actually like during this little plant shopping video, what plants you want to see at big box stores, what plants you want me to actually film whenever I'm out on my little plant shopping adventures, because I definitely invest a lot of time for it, but I also want to provide content that is going to keep you engaged, keep you watching my videos, and continue to grow this channel. If you made it this far, plant foldies, please hit that like button. I know that I've said that multiple times in the video, but you do not even understand how much it helps push the video out to more plant foldies. Like the previous video that I premiered had over 100 likes, and it's gotten a lot more hits than the typical big box or plant shopping video. So hopefully you are taking notice. You're giving me that validation that I'm doing a pretty good job with these plant shops. The exciting thing is I will have several hours of PlantCon footage this week. It's literally going to be a working weekend for me. I'm hoping to get at least 16 hours worth of footage, several episodes available for you. But as you can see, plant foldies, Home Depot has some amazing cactus and succulents, but I think the biggest highlight for me were the really large houseplants that they had available. I think they were super lush, they were super full, and they were stunning. As you can see, plant foldies, these are the plants that I purchased today. Super excited that I finally got these awesome looking plants, super healthy, at 50% off. Please make sure you're hitting that like button. This is Richie at Grow Folds. Please subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at the Lowe's out in Allen, Texas. As always, please make sure you're hitting that like button for this video, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. I just wanted to check out this Lowe's particularly just because this is a Lowe's that I have visited quite often just to see if they get restocks. We'll see what kind of plants they have in the indoor tropical section. Although I am going to go straight to the outdoor section to see if they have any fall plants. I did want to talk about some of the plants that you'll see in the late summer, early fall seasons. As I walk out here, you can already see that they've got this little setup where they've got some hay, some pumpkins, and also some mums, or what you call chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums typically start to pop out around this time of the year, and you can see we've got some beautiful yellow ones right here. I love chrysanthemum or mums, well, however you want to call them. They can be grown indoors, but they are considered annual plants if they're going to be grown indoors. Now, if you grow them outdoors in a landscape, they are considered perennial plants. So these are plants, depending on your grow zone, that can come back year after year. They'll die off in the winter, but then come back year after year. I love perennial plants. My grow zone, which is 8B, since I am based out in North Dallas, these would be considered perennial plants. Now, I don't really see a lot of people growing mums as like landscape plants, but they are considered perennial. So I like that a lot, and they are on sale for 2 for $10. So if you go to any big box store, and I say this in a lot of my big box store plant shopping videos, it really depends on the seasonality of the plants. Sometimes you'll see plants pop up, and it's depending on the season, and then they just kind of resurface back up depending on the season. So you can see right here we've got some beautiful Sansevieria. I don't know if this is called the Sayuri or the Sansevieria snake plant Sayuri. If you are a plant foldie that knows about these snake plants, please leave that in the comments. And for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome to the channel. I am so excited just because as I edit this video and premiere this video, it is the night before PlantCon. So in less than 24 hours, I will be able to go check out PlantCon. I will be able to meet so many of the local plant foldies heading out to PlantCon. Super excited about that. I hope to be able to engage with you guys, talk about the plants you guys like, and just really have a good time interacting with all the plant foldies. I cannot tell you enough how thankful I am that you guys continue to tune into my live premiere chats day after day, every single day. I love that a lot. And what I also love is I love seeing variegated string of hearts at a big box store. So you can see they've got smaller little hanging baskets of variegated string of hearts. Now the thing about these variegated string of hearts, even though they are a succulent plant, you can see that the leaves are completely dehydrated and are in desperate need of some water. So those definitely need to get watered. Now with North Dallas having some really hot weather, 100+ degree weather, it is starting to slightly cool down. Even with succulent plants, you can't sleep on not watering them. And I did want to keep panning over here, plant foldies. Beautiful looking chrysanthemums. Again, these are for $2 for $10. So if you go to this particular Lowe's, absolutely love it. And this is actually a Lowe's that typically keeps their plants in stock. As you can see right here, we've got several different types of succulents and cactus. In all of my plant shopping videos, I always like to show what kind of succulent plants that are available. They do fascinate me, and maybe next year, once I get my indoor space together, I am definitely going to start collecting some succulents. Actually, depending on what PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, Texas brings tomorrow, if there are some rare or interesting type succulents that are like variegated pinks or something of that nature, I may consider starting my succulent collection right then and there. We're gonna see about that. And the thing about PlantCon 2024 is I will try my very best to get as much footage as possible for our plant foldies that are not going to be able to visit PlantCon. So definitely stay tuned for that. It is going to be an all-day event for me. I ended up getting some early bird tickets, so I'll be able to come in before the general admission tickets. General admission is at 10 a.m., but I'll be able to come in here at 8 a.m., 2 hours before. And I do want to thank PlantCon social media for sponsoring me and being able to get me some free tickets to go for the early bird. So I'm just really thankful that there's just a lot of people that really believe in my channel and just believe in some of the content I've created. It's not perfect by any means. I definitely don't have a script whenever I do plant shopping videos. I literally just put on my voiceover and just talk about the plants. And if you like that organic raw footage, this is definitely the plant channel for you. I am going to be producing a lot of different types of content aside from big box or plant shopping videos, but that is the bread and butter of this plant channel. And if you like the plants you're seeing so far, although I am not a fan of these cosmic cactus, like somebody spray painting or painting cactus, it's just not a good idea because they're not going to have a way to really photosynthesize. But anyways, I digress from that. If you do like this type of content, definitely leave a lot of comments in the comment section. That is one thing that really gets me going in terms of just wanting to interact with you guys. So leave comments, ask me questions, let me know about what plants you like. Tell me some plant stories. Just tell me about your plant collection. Let me know where you're from. I really love getting to know all of our plant foldies. We have some international plant foldies as well that watch from Canada. You know, shout out to my Canadian plant foldies, but then even people out in Europe, out in the Caribbean, really love that as well. So let me know in the comment section where you're from. I kind of am interested to see where our plant foldies are from. But what I can tell you about tomorrow is it is going to be a culmination of several plant foldies at PlantCon. Again, our official meetup is going to be around 11 a.m. at PETA's Planters booth. I will be wearing my Grow Folds t-shirt, so you'll be able to find me. Now, people have seen Luke Plant Foldy Luke. He is the one that is always telling people to smash that like button. And if you've already made it this far and have not hit the like button or smashed the like button, please do. He will also be accompanying with me alongside with my best friend Isaac, who actually has a YouTube channel called Hi JR Sings. But I did want to just keep talking about PlantCon. I know I'm at this Lowe's location, but I just can't wait to go to PlantCon. Now, for those that are watching this video specifically for the the plants, I did want to say, for instance, the neon plants that you see at a big box store like this. Now, this one is a golden dewdrops plant. Now, I love neon color plants, and the secret to neon color plants is you want to make sure that you're providing these plants with a lot of bright indirect light. Now, this one is considered a plant that needs to be grown outdoors. The reason why neon plants need to have a little bit more light is because they need that in order to maintain the yellow or neon green variegation. You can see right here, this is another one that looks similar to that. This is an Alternatera. Now, this one is for $4.98, and I actually want to try to grow an Alternatera indoors. We're gonna see what that looks like. I do have some of these typically outdoor plants growing in containers. Currently, they're growing in my backyard, but I want to try to grow them indoors. We'll see what that looks like. But again, Plant Foldies, it is that time of the year where we have a bunch of these mums. So this one is for $14.98. And if you are here watching right now and you haven't seen any of the indoor tropical plants, please continue to watch this. I am going to get there in just a second, but I like to have features of all different types of plants, whether you like to garden, landscape, outdoor plants, if you like bonsai. I'm eventually going to go ahead and talk about terrariums, for instance. It is all going to be available for you, and that's the reason why I like to go to these garden center sections of a big box store. And I am proud to say that a lot of our big box stores in the Dallas-Fort Worth area typically have really good selections for plants. There was a moment in time where I felt like maybe the big box stores, particularly Walmart, was downsizing their outdoor section, but I can tell that they are starting to restock their outdoor sections, particularly with all of these mums. Like this one's $7.98, beautiful plant. I actually want to show you guys pictures of some of the mum bonsai that I made a couple years back. Like I was in a phase where, you know, I have these obsessions or these, I don't know what you even want to call it, where you just want to fixate on a specific type of plant. I had that era where I just wanted to collect different types of mums. You know, with mums, it's interesting because chrysanthemums in Japan actually are bred hybridized to where they have really big blooms. They actually have festivals in Japan celebrating mums. And the reason why I talk about Japanese culture is originally this channel was considered an origami ASMR channel, where I basically was folding origami paper cranes daily, all day, every day, and kind of just showing you how I make origami paper cranes. At some point in this video, I will show you the process of doing that. My goal, you know, just to let you know a little bit about myself, is to be able to fold 1 million origami paper cranes in my lifetime. I've been doing it daily for the past 7 years, going on 8 years, and you cannot imagine how many storage tubs of origami paper cranes I have. For my plant foldies that are actually going to be going to PlantCon 2024, I am going to be bringing you guys some gifts, some origami paper cranes that I featured in some of my older origami ASMR videos. So if you get a chance, plant foldies, and you want a little bit of a different content, a little bit of what my original YouTube channel was, definitely check out the playlist for origami. I would love for you guys to learn how to make an origami paper crane. I think that would be cool. And speaking of Japanese culture and origami, I did show you some of these azaleas, and azaleas are quintessential to a Japanese garden. And that's another thing I have been working on, Plant Foldies, is creating a Japanese garden, a Zen space in my backyard. So that's going to be something that I'm hoping to be able to feature someday on the channel. Maybe not this year. I think the best time would be either in spring, when I have my cherry blossoms growing, and then all of the new leaf growth of some of my Japanese maples, but you never know. Now over here, Plant Foldies, I find this really intriguing is just the look of some of these aloe vera plants and then all of these succulent plants. Now, I'm not really a big fan of succulents or cactus, and it's because for me, it wasn't a plant that I really grew up with. I think oftentimes, and you can, correct me if I'm wrong, we gravitate to plants that have some familiarity of, maybe just the environment we grew up in, or whether a grandmother or a family member grew them. And, succulents and cactus, that wasn't really a thing for me. The only type of succulent that I actually grew as a kid was Crusala, and that's basically jade plants. Other than that, it's really an unfamiliar area for me in terms of just plant care and just the different types of varieties. So I'm not able to really give you guys like the plant IDs. I can just show you these on the video right now. I am a little bit pressed for time, so you will not really see a lot of plant names and plant IDs. Now with the plant shopping videos from PlantCon, I will definitely take the time to put the plant IDs. I really want to make sure that I give PlantCon justice by making sure that I edit them correctly. And so for the plant foldies that are actually going to be at PlantCon tomorrow, if you are interested in being in a cameo or for me to interview you about your plants, I would absolutely love that. Now, as far as me being on camera, we will see if I will do a face reveal. The only face reveal I can guarantee is meeting you in person at PlantCon. Maybe someday I might do a face reveal, but I really feel like based on some of what my friends have told me and some of my plant foldies, they say just the voice, my voice alone is kind of like an alluring thing for people to just watch. I don't know. I really don't like the sound of my voice, but if it, relaxes you, or if you want to spend the time to listen to me ramble about plants for an hour, I will always do that. And that's the thing, plant foldies. I had to rush home today because I didn't get this voiceover done quickly enough. I will be spending the time as I do this live premiere chat later this evening with you guys to really prepare for PlantCon. I am bringing a wagon, and I'm going to have several of my Grow Folds t-shirts. So we're going to see what that looks like. But to get back to the plants, I am so sorry that I spent more, the first part of this video talking about PlantCon. I will say with these azaleas, what I'm interested in is this azalea can actually be converted into a bonsai. So for those that don't know what bonsai is basically the art of a Japanese art form of growing a plant in a shallow container, training it to be a miniature tree where you actually style it and get the branching looking the way you want. It's a beautiful art. And I haven't successfully been able to grow azalea. It'd be so interesting to make a bonsai out of Encore azalea, because Encore azalea is actually a reblooming azalea. Now this right here, this Silver King Unanimous, beautiful shrub. I actually had one in my front yard. My front yard actually is south facing, so it gets some really intense heat, and that one just didn't do as well. Now I have another one that's a variegated Unanimous that's doing okay. And then you can see right here, Rose of Sharon. I love Rose of Sharon. This is another plant that reminds me almost of like a hibiscus, but what's cool about Rose of Sharon is it can grow in my grow zone, and it actually is a perennial, so it will come back year after year. Now with Rose of Sharon, just like a lot of the flowering shrubs, it does need full sun or quite a bit of sun to really do that. And the reason why flowering plants, flowering shrubs, anything that produces blooms needs sun is because the plant actually puts so much energy to produce a bloom. And so when you tie that back to like tropical plants, your indoor house plants, when you see an indoor house plant blooming, you want to actually chop off the blooms, because the blooms actually take a lot more energy out of the plant. And that means the plant is actually using so much energy versus creating more leaves and foliage. So especially with plants like aglaonema, those types of plants, some of your philodendrons, those are the plants that you really want to look out for blooms and just really get rid of the blooms, because while they look cool, they're actually taking a lot of energy from your plant. Your plant is not as efficient in growing more foliage. That's just my care tips. Now, if you want to leave the blooms on your plants, totally fine with that as well, but I do think that the growth rate is going to be substantially slower if you maintain the blooms. Now, as far as these other plants right here, like this crown of thorns looks pretty cool, and you can see that it is quickly starting to the sunlight is actually starting to decrease. It's already sunset, so I will be walking into the indoor tropical space. I will say with Lowe's has some really good selections. Now, there's a rumor that's going around that there are some large 10-inch Monstera constellations floating around in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we're going to take a look at that. Now, in the last two videos, I've been able to feature Monstera constellations being found at a big box store. It was my first time finding a Monstera constellation at Walmart. Super excited about that. And to let you guys know, I do have a current plant giveaway on my Instagram. Please follow me at GrowFolds. If you don't have an Instagram account, Plantfoldies, create one, because a lot of my up-to-date news about the channel or what you want to see actually comes, I actually post a lot more on Instagram. And it's kind of more of like my personal journal as well. But anyway, so go back to it. I have a Monstera constellation free giveaway. You just have to go ahead and like the reel that it's in, tag a minimum of 5 friends on Instagram, and make sure you're following me, and then you can add additional entries after. But as you can see here, I am just passing by a bunch of these different types of ground covers. You can see that there was a Hydra Helix or a Hedera Helix, English ivy over there. Didn't want to spend too much time for that. And you already know, if you're new to the channel, I mispronounce Hedera Helix, which is the Latin scientific term for English ivy. It's a Plantfoldies staple. It's something that I guess my original Plantfoldies like to hear. I like to make fun of myself. I don't really try to take myself seriously. So Plantfoldies, you might hear a couple more of those Hedera Helix calls. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and walk into the indoor tropical space. And then for those that are still watching this video, thank you so much. I know that I've talked quite a bit about PlantCon, but you know, when we wait for that long and it's finally happening, I'm so excited. I'm going to be going to both days. I will also be meeting up with Janae Simone, who is part of our future podcast called Cultivation Corner, where me, Janae Simone, and Steven of I Live Plants will be doing 30-minute podcast videos on our channels talking about plants. So I definitely want you guys to stay tuned for that. If you haven't been able to go to Janae Simone's channel, check it out. Check out Steven I Live Plants YouTube channel. He is one of the original Plantfoldies, and I'm just glad that he has really branched out and really has created some really personalized content. Now, Plantfoldies, when it comes to Lowe's, it's always nice to see all of these ceramic hanging baskets of urban jungle. You can see right over here, Live Trends Plants, for instance, has these terrarium setups with a bunch of these Sansevieria or snake plants. Now, as far as this growing there long term, I'm not 100% sure this, the sustainability of that, but it's still a beautiful concept. And then over here we have another Syngonium, some type of pink Syngonium by Live Trends. Now, this one is for $14.98. That one is in a 4.5-inch ceramic planter. Love the look of it. Love Syngoniums. I am starting to, I guess, rejuvenate my Syngonium collection, because for the longest time, and I wish I would have been able to film this when I had a bunch of plants a couple years back, my Syngonium collection was amazing. I had really full, robust, different types of Syngoniums, but they are coming back. When it comes to rehabbing plants, so here's the thing I would tell you about rehabbing plants. If your plant gets leggy, if your plant had some type of thrifts or some type of pest outbreak, you can treat it, and then if you put them outside in an area where it's shaded and it gets good morning light, give it about a month and you will see the plant bounce back. That is probably the best way to rehab a plant. Now over here, Plantfoldies, I love showing you Live Trend plants. This one is a Haworthia, and a Haworthia is actually a succulent. But what makes it unique is the fact that this Haworthia is actually more low light tolerant than the average succulent. So when you think about succulents and cactus, you think that you have to give it bright light, full sun, but that one is actually more low light tolerant. Speaking of low light tolerant, we've got a ZZ plant cutting. I'm just gonna call it what it is. This is for $18.98 by Live Trends. I love Live Trends, and I say so many great things about Live Trends, but the only thing about this is it is a water propagation of a ZZ plant. I'm not sure if I really think that even the setup is worth $18.98. Now, Plantfoldies, let me know in the comment section. I really want your opinion on whether that is a good price for that. It is a beautiful, vase with the ZZ plant, easy care plant, but I don't know if $18.98 is really going to fit the bill for me. Now, I would pay the $14.98 for this urban jungle hanging ceramic basket of Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. And here's the reason why I am a fan of Philodendron Hederaceum Brazil. It is an easy to care for plant, bright indirect light as well, and it's easy to propagate. Over here we have a Zenzi ZZ plant, and I love Zenzi ZZ plant in the fact that this one is more of a compact ZZ plant. ZZ plants in general, and there's only the 5 that I know, are probably the easiest plants to take care of. So they've got the original ZZ plant, the green version. Then you have the more uncommon, but I really think it's common now. It's the Raven ZZ, which is a black version. Then they have the Chameleon ZZ, which comes out with a more neon look. Then we also have a variegated ZZ, which is super rare, something I might try to find at PlantCon. There's just so many plants actually at PlantCon that I want to get. I'm so gonna go broke. And then we also have the Zenzi ZZ plant. I have 3 of the 5 so far, so I just need to get a ZZ Zenzi and a variegated ZZ. And then over here, you can see that I'm showing you all of these urban jungle ceramic hanging baskets. So these are called Epipremnum aureum, or what you call Pothos plants. This is a plant that no matter what plant foldy video or grow folds video, you will always see this. And I like to promote this plant because this plant is an easy to care for plant. It is a plant that a lot of people will sleep on and say, it's such a basic plant, why add a pothos? Pothos plants bring people joy. They bring people joy because it is a plant that is easy to take care of. It's readily available. It's cost effective. And it's one plant that you can bring more joy to somebody else because you can take cuttings and propagate it. And you can see over here, beautiful green foliage on this plant. Now, this would be considered a golden pothos that's about to revert to a jade pothos. And then over here, we've got a Dracaena mesangiana. That's in a little cutting. And it's interesting because Costa Farms has started to show more hydroponic or plants that are just growing in straight water. We've got Live Trends doing it. I'm not sure if Urban Jungle Plants has done it. I do like the setup. And then you can see right here, this is a cute little lemon planter for some air plants. Now, this is by Live Trends again. I just love Live Trend plants. Like plant folies, let me know if you go big box store plant shopping, if you actually buy Live Trend plants. What are your thoughts about that? I love the planters specifically from Live Trends, and I also love looking at bromeliads. Now, this is for $24.98. This is another type of bromeliad, and in the past, I have always questioned why bromeliads were readily available, but I can understand why, because they are beautiful in a sense that they have different varieties. Now, this particular variety where it has mostly green and it has some of the bloom up here, like these different colors, I'm not as big of a fan. I prefer the bromeliads that have those really bright pink coloration on it, or even just a really unusual patterns. I think it's super cool. Now, this is a Peperomia Ginny. I had one of these, but I ended up sending it to Plant Heaven. And here's the reason why I sent it to Plant Heaven. I just ended up sending it to Plant Heaven due to negligence. And that means that I really just didn't water it. There was just a moment a couple months back, I think it was before I went to the Philippines for vacation, where I started to get overwhelmed with plants, the plant care, and to the point where like one plant was declining because I didn't water it, and then I just kind of ignored it. And it was just really counterproductive, because if you just, how it's like, out of sight, out of mind. Well, out of sight, out of mind when it comes to plants is not a good thing to do to your plants. And it's not fair to the plants, but it's one of those things where I pretty much suffered the consequences by losing a lot of my plants due to underwatering. And I mentioned this in all of my videos, probably the past 2 weeks, but in reflection, I just realized that downsizing my plant collection, really controlling what plants I bring into my collection, and understanding my daily routines, having the time to actually invest in just the plant care. And I am the first one to say that I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to plants. That's the reason why I have been searching for more easy care plants. Like I'm picking up that, ZZ plant, super easy to care for. This one right over here is interesting, the interesting concept by Costa Farms. This is like a mixed planter of a palm plant, a palm plant. We've got a Epipremnum aureum golden pothos, and then we have a purple waffle plant. So there is a combination. I'm not really a fan of combination plants. It might be something that I may eventually warm up to. I prefer plants to be in individual planters, just because I want to admire the plant and not have to like fight for what you know, what is the focal point of the plant. But as you can see here, plant foldies, they have a little bit more restock on this actual Lowe's. I hope that Lowe's continues to get more restock. Things that are going to excite me when it comes to new Costa Farms plants. One is hanging baskets of Syngonium albo. I saw that on the Instagram stories for Costa Farms. So if I find that, you already know I'm buying all the hanging baskets, and that's something I'm going to be searching for. I intended to buy some Syngonium albos at PlantCon, but if Costa Farms is already going to release it in a big box store, then there's no need for that, because I know that it is going to come out. I mean, the fact that we have Monstera Thai constellations already available and seeing even more availability on that, it's a matter of time when I run into a Syngonium hanging basket of Syngonium albos. Now, I want to pan over here because I know that I've gotten a lot of questions about some of the products I use for my plants. So you can see that the one thing that I definitely like using is this particular orchid bark mix that I mix up with my my regular potting soil, just to give it a little bit more chunkiness, just to make sure that the soil is a little bit more aerated. And then I also put a bunch of horticulture perlite. I love using this as well, because then it signifies that my plants are going to have fast draining soil. It's something I definitely want to continue to add to my mix. That's something I'm going to go put on film on how I mix my my soil. And then over here, plant foldies, I love showing you the plant aesthetics of, you know, what I like as far as planters. You can see there are several ones. If you were to ask me what planters I like the planters that do not have shiny glazes. I like the planters like this one right here. This is definitely a classic terracotta planter. I love the look of terracotta. The thing about terracotta planters is this is actually a good planter for those that are overwaterers. Somebody that waters their plants a little bit more frequently than they need to, because terracotta actually sucks the moisture out of the soil, so the soil doesn't stay too wet. Now for me, I really don't need to be using terracotta planters. I need to be using planters that retain a little bit more moisture, because my watering routine is a little bit more scarce versus somebody that may want to try to water their plants every day. That is definitely not me. For $35.98 plant foldies, we've got a braided Pachira aquatica by Costa Farms. I'm just going to get rid of some of the old leaves. And I do want to ask plant foldies, in your like plant care, do you, you know, cut your dead leaves? Do you just wait for them to fall off? I have to do better in terms of cutting off dead leaves, as well as making sure that I cut off little pieces of brown edgings. I just think for the cosmetic look of the plant, it just makes it look way better than just leaving it on there. Also, when you have dead things like dead leaves, dead stems, that actually could create a home for some plant pests. So I do recommend, if you're going to put that in your plant routine, is just to really examine your plants, get rid of all of the dead leaves or dead stems. Don't let it fester there. Don't let dead leaves sit on the top of the soil, because that really is a home that could harbor potential pests. I do love this Pachira aquatica though. It is a nice size plant. And you know, plant foldies, I think that Costa Farms honestly has some of the great plant pricing. It's super affordable. And that's the reason why I think Costa Farms is also the biggest plant supporter in the world in terms of big box stores, is because of the affordability of the plants, also the selection of the plants. Now, in the comment section, please let me know if you agree with me. What do you think about Costa Farms plants? I will say Costa Farms has been super kind to me as well. They've been able to post some of my Instagram reels into their YouTube channel, and they've just always been able to answer my questions whenever I like leave a comment on their social media. Now, as far as live trend planters, you can see that it is about to be fall. Halloween is literally around the corner. I'm trying to think about what costume I would wear for Halloween. I'm thinking of maybe creating a plant type costume, so we'll see if I'll do that. I was actually also thinking if I am going to do podcasts, maybe I need to create some type of like plant mask. Maybe I should just wear some type of leaf whenever I start doing my podcast. Leave in the comments if you think that would be a good idea, or do you think that would be silly? I'm just a little bit shy when it comes to like social media in terms of YouTube. It's already a little bit of a struggle for me to just talk about plants, believe it or not. But actually showing my face on YouTube is something that I've really dabbled with, really thought about. So let me know in the comments too if you guys would like a face reveal. At the current state that I am still not comfortable coming out there and putting myself out there on YouTube like that. But I am super comfortable about showing you all of these different types of plants. So like what I like about these planters is you can see that there are Halloween themed. And that's the thing about like live trends. Live trends plants, they just have the seasonality of having different types of planters. I find this adorable. I like the white cat with the Haworthia here. The only critique I would say is they need to stop using just the fake moss all the time. I think they could, use the top dressing as maybe gravel or maybe even like orchid bark. Let me know in the comments if you agree. And I think the reason why they should use gravel or orchid bark, it just gives a better aesthetic for me. And in terms of like plant pests, fungus gnats can't really harbor their eggs on gravel. And orchid bark doesn't hold moisture nearly as long as just like the fake moss. Now plant foldies, take a look at this Alocasia Regal Shield in a self-watering planter by Live Trends. Beautiful plants, and I do like that they have the top soil as the orchid bark. I also love the look of this planter. Nice gray tone, $39.98. And with Alocasias like this one right here is actually pretty happy. It has a new leaf unfurling. Whenever you are buying plants, it's always nice to find plants that have new leaves unfurling or new growth points, because then you can see that plant is actually happy, it's actually established, and it has a higher chance of acclimating to your indoor space. I always recommend that whenever you're going to buy a plant, especially at a big box store, to really examine it. Look underneath the leaves, look at the top of the soil, the bottom of the drainage holes. If you see any traces of plant pests, so things that might be like white spotchy stuff, could be like mealybugs or anything webbing, then that might be spider mites. You want to make sure that you are holding off from purchasing the plant. Now this is a green shield for $19.98, and I love this plant. It is a plant that has been on my bucket list to purchase. Costa Farms has some really nice looking ones, but proven winners out in Home Depot had some gorgeous looking ones, and I love the fact that the size was a little bit larger. So I am a little bit happy that I was not just rushing to purchase this plant, because I did get a good deal. I ended up getting the proven winners plant for $14.98 versus paying $19.84. I will support Costa Farms, but sometimes you might find a better plant deal. It is literally all about the plant pricing for me. There are many types of plant suppliers, but when it comes down to it, if I'm getting good, better value with a certain plant, then I'm gonna go ahead and purchase that. But as I pan away over here, plant folies, look at how full and lush this Lowe's is. Lowe's is actually another big box store that is pretty consistent about the plants that they bring in. They definitely have the most Costa Farms plants as compared to all of the big box stores. I would say Walmart definitely carries a lot of the Costa Farms plants. Home Depot tends to carry more of the Vigoro plants, Nature's Way, and then also proven winners, definitely proven winners plants. Now over here, $15.98 is a Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree. I ended up picking up a Ficus lyrata bambino, which is more of a dwarf variety at Costco. But this is another plant that can get very large. My family is originally from the Philippines, and when I went on vacation, I actually saw a bunch of fiddle fig leaf trees that were huge. They were like 20 to 30 feet, full blown trees growing in full sun. And that's the reason why all of these plants we see indoors, being sold at a big box store, they were sourced out from another part of the world. I do urge any new plant foldies that have not seen my Philippines plant videos to go under my playlist called Plant Tourism. I would love for you to watch it. I would love for you to join me on my vacation to really see what that looks like for these plants to be growing in their native habitats. You will be amazed. And there were a couple of plants that I definitely reconsidered putting into my plant collection because of the potential of their mature forms. This is a plant everybody needs to get, and I've said this in all my videos. Aglaonema red Siam, beautiful, easy to care for plant. It can tolerate lower light conditions, but just like all Aglaonema, I would recommend giving brighter light, especially for those with more color, because you'll get better coloration of it. And then I am going to show you these green shield plants. I can't really pronounce the Latin scientific name for it, so I'm just going to go with the green shields plant. Beautiful plant. I love the leaf interest. The foliage has some really nice texture as well as patterns on it. And again, what a nice full and lush area that Lowe's has. I will never get tired about talking about big box stores, and while you might have seen this video last night or these plants from the previous episode, I will continue to feature that because I'm hoping that more people will get inspired, may want to get plants like this. This isn't an Aglaonema pink Siam, so it's the pink version of the red Siam. This is another trending tropicals plant by Costa Farms. Beautiful plant. I love the white stems, but I love the pink borders of this plant. Absolutely stunning. And this is another plant that I definitely have in my collection. If you provide it with quite a bit of light, the pink borders end up becoming even more pink and even being more sectoral. That's really a plant that is influenced by the amount of light you give it. You can see right here, I've got the red Siam. Now the pink Siam is $19.84. The red Siam is $15.84. They're both in a self-watering planter, and I have to commend Costa Farms for just really bringing out a lot of different types of plants. The availability of so many plants due to Costa Farms being able to market them, being able to produce them, being able to supply them for the everyday plant lover. It's amazing, and I hope that we continue to support Costa Farms. Definitely let me know in the comments section if you have some interesting Costa Farms plant finds, but one plant I do think that everybody should get, and I will say this in every single video, Aglaonema pink Siam. Look at that pink right there, for instance, because it's got a little bit more light on that, as well as the Aglaonema red Siam. Any Aglaonemas in general, like I really want to plant fluence you, that's the term, plant fluence you into purchasing certain plants. Aglaonema is probably the top of my list. I do feel like it is such an underrated plant. Now, Philodendron Pink Princess by Costa Farms. This is another trending tropicals plant for $19.84. This one doesn't have nearly as much variegation. And what I will say about these Philodendron Pink Princess, the pink or the variegation is not really influenced by the amount of light it receives. It literally is influenced by the initial genetics of the plant. So for instance, notice how this plant actually has more variegation, more speckling. It's a beautiful plant. That is a better candidate if you want more pink variegation versus the first Philodendron Pink Princess I picked up. You will have a higher likelihood of getting more stable variegation for that. Philodendron Pink Princess in general is not really a stable variegated plant. It's not like a Monstera Thai constellation. Whether you give that Monstera Thai constellation a lot of light, it will always still have that sectoral variegation. Philodendron Pink Princess is an interesting plant. It was a plant that was highly sought after about 4 or 5 years ago. Now it's at a big box store. Now it's readily available, and there are better varieties of Philodendron Pink Princess that have more pink. I would recommend that if you're looking for that pink variegation. I love pink plants, and anything that has pink on it, I'm already susceptible to purchasing it. I have several Philodendron Pink Princess that I've collected over all of the big box stores. I typically get lucky by finding them on clearance for like $5 or $7, and so I'm a little bit more picky when it comes to my Pink Princess. Scindapsus trubii Moonlight. This is the Scindapsus that I definitely need to add to my collection. It's one that I haven't added. I really don't have a lot of Scindapsus. I tend to actually purchase more Pothos plants because they're easier to take care of. I like the fact that Pothos plants, when you compare it to Scindapsus, are a little bit faster growing. And you know, as far as me liking a certain plant, I like plants that are a little bit more vigorous in their growth. I'm not really a fan of slower growing plants because I love seeing new leaves unfurl. I like seeing plants get larger in size. It's just very satisfying for me, and that's why I'm surprised that I like Aglaonema, because Aglaonema are super slow growers, at least for me. And you know, even if I fertilize them and feed them and give them some really good growing conditions, they just tend to be a little bit slower growth. Now, as far as this green shield plant, I don't know a lot about about it. Some people say that this plant is a little bit fussy, so I would really love to know your care tips, whether it's a pretty fast growing plant, what that care tip looks like. It's going to be a trial and error for me, but since I ended up getting it at Home Depot for only $14.98, I'm willing to really take a chance and learn. And that's the thing about plant keeping and just growing plants in an indoor space. It is trial by error. I would actually love for you guys to live through me vicariously. Let me make the mistakes. Let me give you guys the care tips versus you guys sending plants to Plant Heaven. You can utilize me as a guinea pig. I'm very transparent when it comes to some of my plants that I end up sending to Plant Heaven. Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, that is a plant I need to add to my collection. I haven't been able to grow that long term. And then also this plant right here. So I love the Epipremnum alplisimum, or what you call the silver streak pothos. This is another readily available plant. And when you talk about silver plants, I love silver foliage plants, plants that have that metallic shine to it. This is a plant that I am curious about. So with most Epipremnum, they need to be growing up a totem pole or moss pole to really get their leaves to size up. I'm not sure if that silver streak pothos is also another plant that gets larger leaves as it climbs up, or is it more of like a ground cover trailing plant? So plant foldies, leave that in the comments. Again, it is just exciting that so many of you guys have really been engaged with the content that I have. You know, things that I've mentioned before. If you're able to hit the like button, that is the biggest help you can do, because if you notice some of my videos that had gotten like 125 likes, those are the videos that are hitting 2,000 plus views within 24 hours. So it just really helps the channel grow. We are now at 10,200 viewers or subscribers. I'm hoping to get to 11,000 viewers by I would say October, so in the next 2 months. And that's going to be due to you guys really still watching my videos all the way through. Watch time is super important for YouTube. So if you click on the video, I hope that you'll invest that hour just to watch and listen to me talk. And we can continue to grow that plant foldy community. Now this Spathiphyllum or peace lily, easy to care for plant, $15.98, highly low light tolerant plant. And then over here, this is another plant that I'm really needing to get in my collection for $19.98. This is a Xanthosoma plant. This is another plant that has made its way back into big box stores. I remember early in January, February, they were readily available. Costa Farms pushed that a lot. It looks like this batch is ready to go. And so I see a lot of these. Now, Xanthosoma look like caladiums crossed with alocasia. They do grow from a bulb. Really like the look of this plant as well. I love the streaks of that it has on the leaves. Also that the leaves are a little bit more narrow and arrowhead. It almost reminds me of Syngonium in a weird sort of way. And then we have a spider. Is that a spider plant? I'm not sure if that is a spider plant, but it has made its way into this area. And then we also have this. This is on clearance. So this is only for $2.50. This is a coleus plant. And for those that have watched my videos in the past, especially in the springtime, I was obsessed with coleus. I still am obsessed with coleus, but for coleus plants, if you grow them outdoors, they're a little bit easier because for me, they're a very thirsty plant, but I have a sprinkler system to where they just get sprinkled with water every day. You can also grow coleus plants indoors. I've seen a lot of European plant growers, people who love coleus plants. There is a whole ordeal when it comes to coleus plants. You can train them to be like indoor trees. Very easy plant. Probably the easiest plant to propagate from a cutting. You can literally cut it, stick the stem into the soil. 2 to 3 days later, it's already rooted. And then over here, plant foldies again, another Ficus lyrata or fiddle fig leaf tree for $15.98. Nice looking plant. Fiddle fig leaves are just plants that need more consistency when it comes to watering, light, and location. If you have a fiddle fig leaf tree, find a spot, maybe a south facing window or a west facing window, leave it there, water it when the soil dries out completely, but make sure you stay on top of it. So if you're gonna water a fiddle fig leaf, don't let 2 to 3 weeks go by and water it and then leave it alone. You wanna make sure if it's gonna be like once a week, every week, do that, because if a fiddle fig leaf doesn't really get that consistency, at least when it's being grown indoors, it will drop its leaves. It will let you know it's not happy. Now, you can see again, plant folies, we've got a dish full of different types of plants by Costa Farms. Again, we've got a Chiflera Moondrop, we've got a Epipremnum Aria Marble Queen, and a palm tree. That is for $24.98. I don't know how I feel about mixed containers. I don't know if I'm really a fan of them, but it is an interesting concept. I would say they make really good gifts for somebody that wants like a sample platter of different types of plants. And then over here, $27.98, we've got a Phalaenopsis orchid mixed with a Peperomia ginny. Love the look of this Peperomia ginny. And the thing about Peperomia ginny, it's very much succulent. It feels like a succulent. The leaves are rubbery and it behaves like a succulent in a sense that if you give it a lot of light, it tends to sun stress. And what I mean about sun stressing is the plant will actually have beautiful red edges the more light it receives. So that's, you know, an interesting concept or an interesting characteristic of the plant. And then plant folies, again, I just feel like I'm in a jungle whenever I look at all of the plants just on this table. Again, this is another Xanthosoma plant. I was almost tempted to purchase this one. You can see that this looks super healthy. The leaves have a natural satin feel about it, a nice shine, and it looks like the leaf has just unfurled. Really like the look of that. Now, I don't know if a Xanthosoma is easy to care for. So again, plant folies, I love asking you guys your insights. All of the insights that you have in terms of your plant care, plant stories, plant commentary, all of that. I love it. Please leave that in the comments. And if you have made it this far, again, plant folies, and you have not hit the like button, I ask that you guys do. It really helps validate my efforts to make these plant shopping videos daily. I do invest quite a bit of time, and it just would help the channel out. Now, as far as these Xanthosomas, again, I mean, it's just another plant that if I really wanted to spend that money, I would have totally did that. But with PlantCon 2024, and I filmed this earlier this week, I just happened to edit it today. I had to hold off from spending money on plants because I know if it's a big box store plant, I will say you will see that plant again. Now, when it comes to a plant convention, that is something that you might not be able to find certain plants, even online. So I figured it's better for me to hold off and save my money on my plants. I am going to tell you straight up, plant folies, I will be spending some massive amount of money because I feel like I'm going to go ahead and treat myself. You know, it's all about, you know, self-care. And if that means self-care means bringing more plants that I probably don't need to add into my plant collection, I'm going to do so. Plants that I did have as far as a wish list plant would be a variegated Philodendron gloriosum. That would be awesome. I would like to find a Philodendron variegated golden dragon. I'm looking for maybe some variegated alocasia. We'll see if I can find a good price for it. Some silver or uncommon Hoyas, a Monstera aurea, or definitely a Monstera mint. Definitely a Monstera mint, and any other unique type of Syngoniums. I'm thinking of like a high variegated Syngonium strawberry ice. If you haven't seen a Syngonium strawberry ice, beautiful plant, but that is another plant that you need to find really good variegation from the get-go for it to really push that out. Otherwise, it ends up just being more of like a chocolatey looking Syngonium, more so like a Syngonium Maria. If you don't know what that looks like, definitely do a search on Google and you'll be able to see it. But as far as these plants from big box stores like this right here, I am so in love with all of these cute little planters that Costa Farms has created. These are your study buddy plants. I did a little short reel on Instagram as well as these plants right here. So I like the plant. This is a Croton Mame. This one is for only $9.97. So this is actually in a 5-inch planter, really nice looking plant. Look at how gorgeous the leaves are. It looks like the leaves are on fire. It looks like a legitimate flame. And with croton plants, it's a love or hate type of plant. Not everybody is a fan of it, but you know, for me, after seeing crotons grow to their full potential in the Philippines, literally they can grow out in the wild, in the jungles, on the side of the road, in somebody's garden, on a landscape, in a planter, and they get massive. They can get up to like 15 feet tall with very minimal plant care in a tropical country like the Philippines. Here is a Dracaena Limelight, another plant that I do want to add to my collection. So I'm on this thing where I want to show my personal plant collection, and when I do a houseplant tour, you will see the amount of neon colored plants I have. I love neon colored plants. They're kind of on the same realm as pink plants. I would say pink plants are my favorite, but I also love neon plants, dark foliage plants, silver plants. That is one of my favorites. But as far as like croton plants, I love colorful croton plants as well. If you are a plantifoldie that has never grown a croton plant, definitely try it. I know that some of the colors might be a little jarring for somebody's taste, especially for me, because I tend to like more minimalistic looking planters. It's interesting that I really like the flamboyant colors of certain genuses of plants like Aglaonema, coleus plants, crotons, for instance. Now I'm going to look over here, plantifoldie. So I've shown you some of these plants. We have another one for $9.97. This is a Dracaena White Jewel by Costa Farms. Now Dracaenas, again, look at how gorgeous the streaks are on this particular one. Very easy to care for plant. I would say for Dracaenas, if you're going to look at plant pests that they're susceptible to, I would say thrifts and mealybugs, but they're still an easy to care for plant. And then over here is a beautiful neon colored philodendron Moonlight by Live Trends in a self-watering planter. So I actually indulged and got myself a massive philodendron Moonlight that's actually in bloom. I love that the blooms are actually red. And you know how I mentioned to cut the blooms on a plant? Well, I actually kept this one because it actually looked cool. My philodendron Moonlight is about 3 feet in width. It is so massive, but it's beautiful. And then over here we have just another Monstera deliciosa juvenile form. So it hasn't started to fenestrate yet. The leaves are gorgeous. I love the heart-shaped leaves. That's by Urban Jungle for $22.97. And then we have another Live Trends Alocasia Pink Dragon. Really like the look of that. The Alocasia Pink Dragon almost looks like the Alocasia Ivory Coast. Now, when it comes to my Alocasia, so I'll be doing that this weekend or maybe on Thursday when I'm off. I will be converting all of my Alocasias that are growing in soil substrate into growing into pond. I finally bought myself some pond on Amazon. It was actually available. And so we're going to see what that looks like. Let me know in the comments, plantifoldies, if you want me to film that process and to show you, because I have a couple of plants that are growing in leca. And we're going to see if that works better for me. I've seen a lot of people be successful growing their Alocasia in pond and leca. I did want to show you the sizes of these philodendron Moonlight. You can see there's a smaller variety. There's another one that's a little bit larger. Mine is about 4 times larger than this. The leaves are way larger than my hand, and it's beautiful. It is a little bit greener though as it gets a little bit bigger. I would just think that it needs to have even more light flooding it to really maintain that that lime yellow neon color foliage. And then over here we have another Thenanthe. This is called the Never Ever plant. I actually have this as well, and I ended up finding it on clearance for 50% off at Lowe's. This one is actually a plant that is not as finicky as compared to a Calathea. I would say Thenanthe plants and Stromanthe plants tend to be easier, as well as Marantha plants. Calathea is the ultimate diva, and you know, out of all of those types of plants, I would say Calatheas are a plant that I'm not going to purchase anytime soon. They have broken my heart many times. Many of them have made it to plant heaven, and so I've stopped buying Calatheas. Now I will continue to buy blooming anthuriums. Those are easy. And then this one right here is a Phytonia. This one is a Phytonia. Pink plants are really cool. Now this is in a 6-inch planter by Costa Farms for $16.98. I prefer the smaller 6-inch planters versus the 8-inch planters when it comes down to it. Now, if I find a Syngonium albo by Costa Farms, they just recently announced that they released it, I will buy every single hanging basket, because that to me is amazing. And you already know Costa Farms is going to give you some really good plant pricing. This is another Urban Jungle plant. This is a Ficus elastica ruby. I show this in all of my plant shopping videos. Now, any rubber tree plant or Ficus elastica, they need a lot of light, bright light. You can actually grow these outdoors in full sun. They will actually thrive better outdoors and become full-blown trees. And then this one is on clearance. You can see because it's already marked off for 50% off. This is a philodendron lemon lime. Now this is another philodendron that I want to get to my collection. This one is actually one that needs to climb up a pole or a moss pole. This is one of my favorite plants. You know, it's considered a common philodendron, but look at how stunning the leaves are. This has a little bit more cosmetic damage, so I don't know if I necessarily want to purchase this for 50% off. I feel like I can find another plant somewhere else that's going to give me better value. I do have one that's similar called the philodendron Thai sunrise, where it has green variegation with the neon colors. And then I've been eyeing all of these Syngonium white butterflies in a 6-inch planter. You know, Costa Farms has this for $16.98. I am curious, plant foldies, if you are a fan of Syngonium. I love Syngonium. The only thing about Syngonium that will really help, not really help, that will actually have them decline in their health is when you don't provide it enough water. Water is a huge must for Syngoniums. Obviously not over watering it, but you cannot let a Syngonium go fully drought for 2 to 3 weeks. It's just not a good thing for the plant. And then over here, plant foldies, is a Hydra helix, or what you call a Hedera helix. I know for some people this might be a little cringe on how I say it, but there's a little part of me that actually makes me laugh inside whenever I say it. If you ever watch the anime series called Sailor Moon, I almost feel like I'm shouting out like a Sailor Moon attack when I say Hydra helix. Anyways, English ivy, challenging plant, probably the most difficult plant to grow indoors. Now this plant right here is a Hoya carnosa crimson princess hanging basket for $16.98. Love Hoya plants. I might be entering my Hoya head phase, my Hoya era at PlantCon 2024. That remains to be seen. And then this plant right here almost looks like a Epipremnum aureum Yesenia Pothos. I'm not sure if it is because it does have that subtle green on green variegation. It's got a minty color. Now let me tell you about the Yesenia Pothos, which is uncommon. It is a very unstable plant in terms of its variegation. If you do not provide it enough light, it will literally return back to green. I do have some Yesenia Pothos. It is influenced by the amount of light you provided. And so what I'm gonna do with my Yesenia Pothos is to actually grow a little clip-on grow light by CNC Lights. And if you haven't ever bought CNC grow lights, I would recommend them. Their products are more cost-effective, and I am being sponsored by them. I am going to be reviewing another product. They're sending me some more product, so definitely take a look at that. And in plant foldies, I love this as well. This plant actually encompasses all of the things I like about variegation. I love the purple, pink, cream variegation, the texture of the plant, but the big thing about this plant is it requires quite a bit of water. It's a very thirsty plant and it needs humidity. So this is a plant I cannot put in my current growing conditions for my home because I don't water my plants nearly as much. I don't have the humidity, and I don't want to have a bunch of humidifiers just running all day because I do have some beautiful hardwood floors that I do not want to warp. So that's the thing, plant foldies. I am curious about your plant setup. Are there certain things you have to compromise when it comes to certain plants being in your collection? Again, leave that in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. And then plant foldies, here is another Hydra helix. This one is, I think, the little Herman ivy. Beautiful plant. And then we also have a Syngonium right here. This is a Syngonium exotic illusion. Look at how beautiful the leaves are, like the veining, the little subtle pink veins on the Syngonium. I am back at my Syngonium phase. I recently looked at some of the Syngoniums I was actually rehabbing outside, and like my Syngonium plum illusion, she's back at it. She's nice and full and bushy. Over here, we've got a Chiflera Moondrop by Costa Farms. I will say Chiflera plants in general are easy to take care of. I am a fan of this particular plant. Now this one, it stays a little bit more, I guess, more compact and smaller. And then over here we have another Hydra helix, or another Hedera helix. This is the dark Pittsburgh ivy. Now here's what I will say about English ivy. If you're able to provide it with bright indirect light, stay on top of the watering, where you basically water it, make sure that it dries out completely, but then immediately water it, you'll be okay. If you have neem oil spray that down, because I'm telling you, Hydra helix or Hedera helix will attract spider mites. It is a spider mite prone plant when it is grown indoors. If you grow it outdoors, in a container, it will thrive. If you grow it in the landscape, it's an invasive plant. So it's just a very interesting dynamic when it comes to English ivy. You know, I had somebody actually leave in the comments about how I'm always talking about English ivy and how that's really not a good plant to have, especially in Texas. It is an invasive plant, but I never really talked about growing English ivy in the landscape. I'm literally just talking about the English ivy as a indoor house plant, a challenging indoor house plant. So I was actually curious to see if anybody wanted to try the Hydra Helix challenge on Instagram, where you can buy an English ivy, you know, monitor its progress, you know, tag me in an English ivy post on your Instagram and let me know. Use the hashtag Hydra Helix and see if you can grow an English ivy for a good month without it getting spider mites. Would love that. I might even send you a potential uncommon rare plant. We'll see what that looks like. Like right over here, one of my favorite English ivy, that's the Hydra Helix Bettina ivy. That one died and went to plant heaven for me. And then over here, we got some Fittonia. This is, I think, the Superba Fittonia. Superba Fittonia, just like the pink wave Fittonia, have larger foliage. I actually want to see about buying a bio orb at PlantCon, which is basically like a terrarium setup. I think that would be super cool. I'm thinking maybe I can even have it on my my kitchen island. We'll see what that looks like. But Fittonia would be a prime candidate as a terrarium plant. Dieffenbachia, $12.98 by Costa Farms. Look at that variegation. I mentioned the Dieffenbachia are actually very challenging, finicky plants when grown indoors. And I think what makes them difficult is because of the lighting that they need. Also, they are susceptible to spider mites, and they require some good watering as well. Now in the Philippines, those grow out in the wild and they don't need any plant care. And I've mentioned this before, plant care is basically how close can you get the plant natural environment in your home? If you're able to get it as close to the plant's environment, then you're gonna do less in terms of plant care. Like Aglaonema, for the most part, very easy plant. It is drought tolerant, but I pushed the limit to where I didn't water an Aglaonema for an entire month. And yeah, the leaves started to die. And the thing about Aglaonema is once the health starts to decline, it is a very long process to rehab them. So it's better to just make sure that you stay on top of the plant care tips. Now, as far as golden pothos plants are fairly forgiving, I would say. When they are needing water, if they're super thirsty, their leaves start to droop. But after you water them, they should recover. Now, if you let them stay in a drought condition for too long, that's when you start losing leaves from a pothos plant. Over here, we have another Philodendron Pink Princess. Now with the Philodendron Pink Princess, like the look of that one as well, you can see that there are some pink streaks here. And this one tends to be a little bit more narrow in the leaf shape. I've mentioned this before, but the leaf shape of a Philodendron Pink Princess, if it's tissue culture, tends to be more narrow. The original Philodendron Pink Princess Urubescens actually has rounder leaves. So if you find that, then that actually is not a tissue cultured plant. I can go into details about tissue culture, but the majority of plants you will find at a big box store are not naturally propagated by cuttings. They're probably from tissue culture plants. So that's why whenever you see like a rare philodendron, like Philodendron White Princess, Philodendron White Wizard, Philodendron White Knight, Philodendron Pink Princess, Philodendron Painted Lady, all of those plants at big box stores most likely are tissue cultured plants. I will tell you that those Monstera Thai constellations we're seeing, that it's definitely a tissue cultured plant in general, but to be able to produce those numbers, it's probably a tissue cultured plant. So just, you know, be on the lookout for that. It doesn't mean that tissue culture plants aren't good plants. I would say, or I've read somewhere, that tissue culture plants aren't nearly as like vigorous or strong as its original counterparts. Now, as far as this plant right here, this is an Epipremnum aureum lemon meringue pothos. That is a trending tropicals plant for $19.87. It isn't a self-watering planter. That pothos plant is a very slow growing plant, pothos plant, as compared to others. And you can see this right here. Look at how large these pink leaves are on a Fittonia. This is the Fittonia Pink Wave. This one is for $20.84 in an 8.5 inch hanging basket by Costa Farms. This is another plant that is quite difficult to grow if you are an underwaterer like me. And I almost dropped that plant. Ooh, that was such a good save. Leave in the comments if you thought that was a good save, and if you haven't hit the like video and you thought that was a good save, please hit that comment, that like. And then over here, I actually was wanting to buy this plant, but I already have this Syngonium. Notice how this Syngonium has like pink veining, and it also has more of a rounder leaf. Really like the look of that plant. I have one that is currently rehabbing, and it's making its way back into being a full plant. Now with my Syngoniums, some of them ended up getting a thrifts outbreak, and thrifts, they just kind of pop out of nowhere. You know you have a thrifts outbreak when the leaves start to get a little bit more brown or yellowish, and you're not overwatering it, and they start to get crispy. So you have to maintain that. I do use a systemic granule that I mix with my soil. I really don't like using that because it is more of a pesticide, and I just don't want to have a bunch of pesticides around my home, but it has proven to be effective because what it does is it actually gets into the root system. The roots take up that poison, and it makes the plant undesirable for a plant pest to want to like feed on. So that's something that I would recommend as one of the pest preventatives, but the best pest preventative is making sure that you keep your plants healthy. But anyways, plant folies, please hit the like button for this video. And if you enjoyed it, I am gonna definitely show you so many videos from PlantCon. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.